I got a call from the University of Colorado School of Pharmacy about 15 years ago. And they were like, heard you're doing all these interesting business things. Why don't you come to the School of Pharmacy and talk to our students about all the opportunities that pharmacists can have? And I was like, I think you better check my videos out first before you invite me to the pharmacy school. And she's like, yeah, why? I says, you might want to look at what I talk about. And sure enough, she never called me back. Because I don't really like drugs, and I don't really like the industry of pharmacy. I like the idea of being a pharmacist because it helps me understand molecules and chemistry and how the body interacts with chemistry. But I don't apply that to drugs. I apply that to nutrition, and I apply that to skincare, and I apply it to foods. I study how foods interact with the body. I study how nutrients interact with the body. I study how nutrients and ingredients interact with skin. In fact, that's my specialty, is the skin. And over the last 30 years since I graduated pharmacy school, I've come to a lot of very interesting conclusions. Most importantly is that there's no medicine in the world that can help us if we have a chronic long-term degenerative disease. There's no medicine in the world that can help you with Parkinson's. They can give you a fake hormone, Cinemet, which you might be on, L-DOPA, and that might control you a little bit, but the problem is still going to be there, even though you're controlled. In fact, L-DOPA, which is a precursor to dopamine, which is a brain chemical, is a standard treatment for somebody who has Parkinson's disease in the same way that thyroid hormone is the standard treatment for somebody who has thyroid issues, hypothyroidism. And in the same way that L-DOPA doesn't take care of the problem, it just masks the problem a little bit by giving you a little bit of hormone. Same thing with thyroid medicine. If somebody has hypothyroidism, so it's not going to help them with their thyroid. If somebody has a blood pressure problem and they get a beta blocker or a calcium channel blocker, that's not going to help them with the issues that are causing the hypertension or the high blood pressure. When you go get a prescription drug, you're not getting anything that's going to help you with the problem. I'm like, why don't we take care of the problem? That's what we're about. That's what we're about in longevity. That's what my philosophy is as a healthcare professional. And that is really what Bob is about, and Carol's about, and what Devin's about, and what Dr. Taylor's about, and what Ryan's about. And that's what everybody who's involved with longevity, I mean really involved with longevity, not just for the business side of it, but for the health side of it, that's what we're all about, taking care of the problem. But you got to know what the problem is. You got to understand a little bit about science, a little bit about biology, a little bit about what the body is and how the body works. And that's where people get hung up. So what I do is I make it easy, or I try to make it easy. I want to make it easy. My mission is to simplify everything. So I was kind of being a little facetious when I said I love Parkinson's, but I do love Parkinson's because that's like a poster child of how easy it is how easy it is to address once you understand what the problem is. So we'll get to that here in a second. So last time we were here, we talked about some general philosophical kinds of things, and I see I have some new people here, so I don't want to give you short shrift on the general philosophy. But what I really want to do today is talk about individual health challenges and how you can use longevity products to address individual and specific health challenges for you personally, or also if you have clients or patients that you work with, or family members or friends or people that you know that you want help with. What I want to do is I want you guys to throw out health challenges, and then I'll walk you through the process of really addressing the problem, not just masking it, using nutrition as well as some other strategies. So this here that you're in is called Truth Skin Health Inc. This is my skin health business. I've been doing skin for many, many years, since I was a student in pharmacy school, which was a long time ago, so 30 plus years. I've been doing skin. And the skin is kind of emblematic of everything of our health challenges, in the sense that when we see a problem on the skin, eczema, for example, or acne, a zit, or rash, or itching, our immediate first thought, the first tendency is to try to address the rash, or try to address the zit, or try to address the eczema, or try to address whatever the problem is, because that's where it is, obviously. But that's not where it is. That's just where you see it. Your Parkinson's, the symptoms of your Parkinson's are not the problem. That's just where you see it. When you have a health challenge, that's not the problem. That's just where you see it. In order to really address the health challenge, you got to backtrack. You got to take steps backwards. And the good news is there's not a lot of steps that you got to take, because all diseases are built on top of three major breakdowns. There's no such thing as a disease that doesn't have that isn't the end result of three major breakdowns that I call the triangle of disease. Before I even progress, I should tell you that when I talk about healing and recovery and getting healthier, I'm really referring to something that's this kind of specific called chronic degenerative disease. You guys heard that term, chronic degenerative disease? Chronic degenerative disease is a type of bodily breakdown as opposed to traumatic issues. Getting hit by a car, something drops on your head, you break your leg or your ankle. Or you have an infection. You catch some kind of a bacterial issue or a viral issue. Those are not in the same realm. And one of the problems we have in health is that we collapse these two kinds of issues. We think that if a certain strategy works with a traumatic injury or with an infection, it's going to work with chronic degenerative disease, and that doesn't work. In a way, the medical model, the paradigm that says the pharmacomedical model, the drug medical model, is riding on the coattails of penicillin. See, medicine wasn't really looked at as the great profession that it is today at the turn of the 19th century, at the turn of the 20th century, beginning of the 1900s. Medicine was kind of like a sketchy profession. Doctors were looked at kind of askew. There weren't really professional credentials. There wasn't a centralized licensing agency at the beginning of the 20th century. So being a doctor wasn't what it is today. What happened about the turn of the 20th century is we started to become more facile at We started to become more facile at playing around with the body chemically. And that's when the age of antibiotics began. When antibiotics hit, all of a sudden that was a miracle. Before antibiotics came around in the 1920s and 1930s, actually somewhere in the 1930s was when penicillin was first invented, if you caught a cold, you would die. I mean, catching a cold was a life-threatening situation, especially if you're a baby or especially if you're an old person. And life expectancy at the turn of the 20th century was around 45 years old. And that was life expectancy, not because people didn't live to be 80 or 90, but because so many people died when they were kids or when they were very young. So antibiotics came around, that revolutionized everything. And so our glorification of medicine, the idea, oh, I'm sick, I go to the doctor, which maybe you guys don't think here, but 99% of people out there think, I'm sick, I go to the doctor. That came about when penicillin and antibiotics revolutionized how we take care of sick people. So we are still, many of us, it takes a long time for people to change ideas, many of us are still of the belief that medicine can do anything, that the medical model can take care of anything, which is why if you're sick, if you're like most people, the first place you're going to go to is the doctor. But that flies in the face of what's obvious, and that is that we have more doctors than ever before. We got more drugs than ever before. We got more surgeries. We got more devices. We got more diagnostics. We got more insurance, and we're sicker than ever before. We're the fattest, most diabetic-ridden, most cancer-ridden culture in the history of the planet. Never has a culture in the history of mankind been as sick as we are in a long-term degenerative disease sense. And a lot of that is because we don't make that distinction between long-term degenerative disease and infection and trauma. Once we make that distinction, it's a short jump to understanding that long-term degenerative disease is not a medical issue, it's a lifestyle issue. It's based in how we live our lives. And by that I mean from the physical dimension, food, exercise, nutrition, to the emotional dimension. Make no mistake about it. As we think, our body will end up showing up. As we feel, our body will end up showing up. Not in an airy-fairy Boulder, Colorado, hippy-dippy kind of way, but in a hormone kind of way. When you think a thought, a crappy thought, you make a crappy hormone, which makes a crappy body. When you think a beautiful thought, you make a beautiful hormone, which makes a beautiful body. Simplifying a little bit, but hormones are the link between mind, body, psychosoma, psychosomaticism, and physical. So from a physical perspective, lifestyle means how you eat, how you exercise, whether you're sedentary or not, how you supplement. It means emotional and mental strategies, and it also means spiritual strategies. And I don't want to get all into proselytizing here, but the fact is, if we don't feel connected to the universe, we're going to make hormones of fear. Hormones of fear shut down the body. When we're not connected, we don't feel like we're being taken care of by the universe, when we feel like we're not somehow, there's a mystery out there, there's an unknown component out there that we don't have connection with. In fact, even the word sin means disconnection. When we don't feel connected, we're in sin, and when we're in sin and we feel disconnected, we secrete cortisol and stress hormones, all that shuts down the body. So spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical are how you address lifestyle issues. There's no room in there for prescription drugs. There's no prescription drugs, there's no surgeries, there's no doctor or medical model strategy that can help us. Doesn't matter, because we're in charge. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So I love to read. That's my favorite thing to do. Second favorite thing to do, anyway.
What's your first?
Skin Stress Response. This is one of my favorite books. Skin Stress Response Pathways. And the reason I like to bring it up is because this, in a nutshell, expresses one of the major reasons why we don't understand the body. Skin stress response pathways refers to how the skin responds to stress. Now, when we think of stress, we think of a problem. We think that we got too much stress. We got to have stress management. Wrong. Stress is your friend under the appropriate conditions. Just like the skin has stress response pathways that result in growth, the body has stress response pathways that result in growth. Stress is the best thing that can happen to you if you understand how to leverage it, if you understand how to use it. The reason I bring that up is because it's a classic example of how we misunderstand how to leverage and take care of our bodies. This is a really cool book called The Paradigm Conspiracy, and it talks about how a paradigm is a model. It's the way we see the world. The Paradigm Conspiracy says that the paradigms and the models that we use in our culture and our society don't serve us. They're a way that human beings can be manipulated for various reasons. We have a paradigm, for example, that says when you're sick, you go to the doctor. Who does that serve, for the most part?
Doctor.
The doctor, exactly. Those who are constructing the paradigms are constructing the paradigms for their benefit. So what we want to do is we want to start to construct our own paradigms. Paradigm Conspiracy says that we're given paradigms, and we just believe those paradigms. We believe those models. Understanding this idea of paradigms is called meta thinking. And that's how we have to be. We have to be critical thinkers. We can't just accept what we're told. It has to kind of run through our bullshit detector or our truth detector. That's why I call my company The Truth. We all have a truth detector, and we can feel the truth when we hear the truth. If somebody is telling you something as an assertion and it doesn't feel right to you, there's a good chance that it's not, or at least that it needs a little bit more examination. And this is a really cool book that talks about how the structure of paradigms is actually set up to disempower people, and it doesn't serve us. They call them the paradigm cause of soul abusive systems. I love that. Because the paradigms we have are soul abusive. They're soul crushing. It's a really cool line that I wanted to read here, and I forgot where I can't find it here. But we're actually going through now a paradigm shift, which is why you guys are all here. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, you might not have even been here. You might have thought I was some kind of whack job. But now youngins like you guys smell rat. You notice that things aren't working as well as they should. And you're starting to get a little bit skeptical and starting to question things. And young old guys over here, like you and I, we're young old guys, right? We're in the same league. And I am personally, I can't speak for you, very respectful of young folks here, because you're the guys who are going to take us to the next level by questioning. You know, when I was growing up, they used to say question authority. Remember that question authority? That's exactly what you want to do. You always want to question something. I don't like when people just listen to me and just do what I say. You know, I wasn't a big Ronald Reagan fan, but he said something really cool. He said, trust, you remember?
And verify.
Yet verify. Exactly. Trust yet verify. Listen to what I'm saying here today, and then go do your own research. And then, this is really cool. I just read this today. I thought this was super cool. It's really cool. Superconducting liquid crystalline water aligned with collagen fibers in the fascia for acupuncture. What does that mean? That means our body is a superconducting system. Now, superconduction is a phenomenon where there's no resistance. This is the dream of engineers and physicists for high-tech society, where you can create travel systems, trains and buses and ways of moving from point A to point B that have no resistance. When a train runs on a track, there's a lot of resistance. It slows the train down. But in the future, they're going to have superconducting systems where the train zips from point A to point B. Well, the divine force, biology, nature, evolution has taken care of it. We have a superconducting system. And that means that when you take a pill, your entire body changes. When you think a thought, your entire body changes instantaneously. When you have a feeling, your entire body changes instantaneously. When you put a piece of sugar on your tongue, the biochemistry in your body changes from head to toe instantaneously. How does that happen? It's because the body is a superconducting system. But that superconducting system requires structure. It requires collagen, it requires water, it requires a certain scaffolding. When that scaffolding breaks down, we get sick. We get sick, we go to the doctor, we expect him to fix us when the problem is in the structure of the body. The problem is in the superconducting system. The point being, we have control. It's in our realm, it's in our wheelhouse. The best thing a healthcare professional can do is get out of the way. The job of a good healthcare professional is to make himself irrelevant. If the doctor says to you, you're going to be on this the rest of your life, and you're going to come see me once a month or every 6 months because I got to check on you, he's not doing what the healthcare professional should be doing. It's like if your toilet's clogged in your bathroom, and the plumber comes by and looks at it and says, oh, I can't do anything about that, but I'm going to come by every 6 months, and you're going to pay me, and I'm going to check to see the clog. I'm going to check to see if the crap is still building up in the toilet. You say, forget it. I don't want anything to do with that. But that's the model we have accepted. That's the paradigm that we have been born into. And if we're not critical thinkers, that's the paradigm we're going to stay in. All right. So the 3 points that I call the triangle of disease. The reason this is important because every single health challenge is built on top of these 3 points. For worse, if you don't address the 3 points, you can't take care of the health challenge. For better, if you do address the 3 points, every single health challenge will improve. Whether it is cancer, whether it is heart disease, whether it is autoimmunity, whether it's neurological like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or any kind of dementia, whatever your health challenge is, if you focus on the 3 points, the triangle of disease, which I'll tell you what those 3 points are in a moment, every single one of those will begin to subside. Every one. And to the extent that you have time, or the extent that you follow those 3 points, every single health challenge can begin to reverse, and completely reverse eventually. But begin to reverse instantaneously. The minute you decide, the minute you change. If you're a cigarette smoker, for example, do you know when your lungs start to heal? Between cigarettes, right? As soon as you stop that cigarette, even if you smoke another one, 10 minutes or an hour or whatever, 2 hours later, between cigarettes, your lungs are starting to heal. That's how fast the healing process kicks in. We have access to that healing process in our body, but we got to know how to take care of it, how to open the key, how to open the safe, if you will. All right, so what are the 3 points of the triangle of disease? I call these 3 points the triangle of disease because they're sequential. The first point A breaks down, point B breaks down, and then point C breaks down. And you probably know what the 3 points of the triangle of disease are. You do?
Yeah.
Dr. Mitchell? The first point is triangle of disease.
The adrenal system?
No, that's the last point.
The blood sugar system?
That's the second point.
The digestive system?
That's the first point. The first point of the triangle of disease is the digestive system. And the reasons that, because it's the first point of the triangle of disease, number one, it's the first thing you always do. If you're selling longevity products, you focus on the digestive system first. And there's a few reasons for that. I'll get into that in a second. But let me just explain to you how this whole thing happens. See, when we're born, when human beings are born, we come out of the birth canal, and what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to get bathed with this bacterial bath. Anybody ever see a baby born, or did you see your baby born? So the baby has all the stuff coated when the baby comes out of the birth canal.
Umbilical sac.
Well, not the sac, it's a coating. It's like liquid, it's wet stuff. It's not the umbilical sac, but it's in the umbilical sac, it's wet stuff. That wet stuff is a bacterial bath that the baby gets. He's soaked with bacteria that comes out of the mother's birth canal. Those bacteria then go into the baby's nose, they go through the baby's mouth, and they go into the baby's digestive tract, and they implant in that digestive tract. And from that point forward, those bacteria become that baby's best health friends. Those bacteria that have come in from the mom's birth canal are that baby's personal health angels. Those bacteria are specific for the baby. Every individual has their own specific bacterial signature. One second. And in fact, in the future, when somebody commits a crime, they will actually look for the bacteria. And that will be the DNA analysis of the future. They'll be looking at that bacteria. That bacteria is so unique to each individual, they'll know if that's Bob's bacteria, or that's James' bacteria, or that's Anton's bacteria. As we're sitting in here, we're all emitting bacteria off of our bodies. There's a whole bacterial cloud all in this room. These bacteria are microscopic, yet inside the body they make vitamins for us. They detoxify poisons for us. They digest our food for us. They communicate to our neurology to make us feel certain ways. In fact, these bacteria will actually tell our brain what to eat. And if you have the wrong kind of bacteria, they will actually tell you to go eat donuts and chocolate chip cookies. If you have the right bacteria, they'll tell you to eat the right kinds of food. There's really no difference between our bacteria and us because these bacteria are actually sharing their genetics with our cells. They're going back and forth. those bacteria are changing our genes. They act like a warehouse of genes, of extra genetic material that can communicate to our intestine and the rest of our body. Now that's what's supposed to happen. As the baby comes out of the birth canal, he gets bathed, and those bacteria become very important. However, the next step after the bacteria get inside the gut, they're just implanting, but there's another mechanism for making sure those bacteria proliferate. And those bacteria reproduce. And so there's enough of that bacteria. That system is called breast milk. And so when a baby nurses, the breast milk, one of the breast milk's major jobs is to help those bacteria grow. Problem is, a lot of moms don't have the right bacteria themselves, and so if the babies come out come out the birth canal and they don't have the right bacteria, they're not going to have the right bacteria. On top of that, a lot of babies are born cesarean section. In fact, a third of babies are born cesarean section, and for you, people in our generation, people in their 60s and 70s, it was even more, because they didn't have any idea about this microbiome. Then, a lot of women aren't breastfeeding, or if they're breastfeeding, they're not breastfeeding long enough, or if they're breastfeeding long enough, they're not breastfeeding with enough, they don't have enough nutritional competency to make good breast milk themselves. So, long story short, by the time a baby gets out, by the time a baby's like a year old, or not even a year old, a week old, he's already starting to experience, for most babies, are already starting to experience bodily breakdown, and they just came out of the womb. Go ahead, Bob.
I was curious, they seem to be obsessed with, sucking the mucus out of the nose and the mouth and all that as soon as the baby's born. Should they really leave that in place for a while?
Likely. That's where the bacteria are living.
Yeah.
Yeah, likely. That's a good point. Sucking all the mucus out. I mean, you don't want the baby to be too clogged up, but the mucus represents a source of bacteria.
Yeah.
So
should they leave that in place for an hour? Or
likely.
Yeah.
That's a likely possibility. I don't know the answer to that, but it's likely. So by the time the baby's out now, I don't want to say he's beginning bodily breakdown, but his health is beginning to get compromised. So now, one of the jobs of these bacteria is to make sure the intestine is able to do its business of absorbing nutrients. So now you get a little compromise at the level of the intestine. So the baby's getting a little cranky. He's not getting fed properly. He might be getting breast milk, but the breast milk doesn't have what it needs, or maybe he's not even getting breast milk, or he's not absorbing nutrients out of his gut. So the baby's getting kind of cranky. In fact, when a baby gets cranky, we actually call it, what do we call it?
Colic.
Why do we call it colic? Colon. It's based in the colon. Coliciness comes from the colon. It comes from this malabsorption issue. The bacteria that he's supposed to have, the baby's supposed to have, also help digest food. If the bacterial population aren't right, the food doesn't get digested properly, and now you have food toxicity. And then you start to get rashes on the baby, or you get pimples on the baby. So you got a colicky baby, rashy baby, pimply baby. This is a lot of babies. Skin conditions should never happen in a baby, but a lot of babies have skin conditions. Heartburn should never happen in a baby. A lot of babies have heartburn. All of this is coming from the digestive system from what's called dysbiosis, which is a fancy way of saying messed up bacteria. Dys means messed up, like dysfunction. Biosis means bacteria. Now we got a baby who's about 3 months old, 4 months old, 5 months old, 6 months old. He's cranky, he's colicky. He's not getting the nutrients he needs. He might be rashy. He's just not an unhappy baby. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How long should a mother nurse?
As long as you can. In fact, if you can keep the nursing going until the baby's a teenager, that's great. No, I'm just kidding.
Not creepy at all.
I'm teasing. That's a joke. That's a joke. In fact, we should all have our own breast. I always thought we should have our own personal breast.
Large enough to pick it up.
Yes.
Well, a lot of animals, they naturally wean off at a certain
A couple of years usually, but you know what? It's the best food. Why stop? There are social reasons. You can't be, kids in kindergarten, you can't be breastfeeding. But aside from the social reasons, it's the best food. Why would you just ever stop? We should be sanctifying breast milk. We should have breast milk repositories where people donate breast milk. Although there is a specificity for it. But there's breast milk ice cream. Do you guys know this?
Wow.
Breast milk ice cream. Yeah, there is. I'm serious. There is.
Also,
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, in the animal world, most animals, mothers lick that bacteria off of the babies to get it in their own systems too.
He
Good
grew
stuff.
up farming for years, so.
Ranching.
Perfect. And you know what? Everything I've said so far, you probably connect
Absolutely,
with.
yeah.
Right? We take care of our animals a lot better than we take care of our people because our animals cost us money. Right? So, farmers know a lot of stuff. In fact,
There
Dr. Wallach started off by learning the stuff by being on a
There
farm.
isn't one farmer in the world that doesn't put a trace mineral salt block out for their animals.
Why is that?
It's not because we don't get trace minerals in our food,
And the soil.
and it's not in the soil
Exactly right.
anymore.
We're gonna talk about
Even in
trace-
the forest.
Absolutely, trace minerals are huge. I don't know if you know Jevy's story, but that's
Yeah.
Dr. Wallet.
Yeah.
You know, that was his whole thing. All right. So baby's now 6 months old, 7 months old. He's cranky all the time. What do we give? He's not getting energy correctly. He's not processing food correctly. He's not making vitamins. He's got bacterial issues. He may start to have ear infections. He might start to get snotty nose. Sometimes babies have asthma. All these are indicative of dysbiosis. The big problem is energy. The baby doesn't have a really good source of energy because he's not processing food correctly, so he gets cranky. When you're low blood sugar, you get cranky. So what do? Baby cries, low blood sugar. What do most moms do at that point?
Give 'em sugar.
Give him a lollipop, give him a popsicle, give him pear juice or apple juice or mashed up banana. Give him sugar. Almost all the foods moms give their babies when they're colicky or cranky is a sugar-based food, which helps for a little bit because it gets the blood sugar up. However, the body has a system for controlling blood sugar. Body doesn't like high blood sugar. Sugar is very explosive stuff. It's very dangerous stuff to the body. Sugar has to be tightly controlled. You know, have you ever got a sugar burn? Have you ever got a sugar burn when you're cooking? It burns hot. If there's ever a fire in a sugar factory, they have to bring like fire departments from all over the region to put the fire out, and it takes days to put it out because sugar burns hot, it burns long. Sugar is very explosive stuff. So the body has a control system for sugar. So baby's colicky, cranky. Mom says, okay, here's some pear juice or here's some apple juice to duplicate the sugar that should have been in the breast milk. Breast milk contains natural sugars. So that helps for a little bit, but then the body's sugar control system kicks in. The sugar control system is exemplified by the hormone insulin. So the blood sugar goes up, insulin comes to the rescue, pulls the sugar down. Now what happens?
Go into storage mode.
What's that? Well, it goes into storage mode, that's right, but before it goes into storage mode, the baby's cranky again. Because now he's got low blood sugar again. So what does the mom do?
Give them more.
Give him more pear juice, give him more apple juice. The blood sugar goes up, insulin comes to the rescue, pulls it out, stores it, exactly right, and now he's low blood sugar again. Give him more, and on and on and on this goes. I call this the high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster. Now, so the baby's now a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. He's constantly cranky. He's getting sweets. Mom gives him, to shut him up, gives him cereal. On top of the sweets that the mom gives him, everything we eat is pretty much sweets. Pasta is sweet, and rice is sweet, and cereal is sweet. By the time the kid is now 10 or 11 or 12, he's starting to exhibit the signs of remember dys means messed up, dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. And we have a major problem with what's called today type 2 diabetes, right? What did they used to call type 2 diabetes? Anybody know? They used to call it adult onset diabetes. You remember that? It was called adult onset diabetes. They don't call it that anymore. They call it type 2 diabetes. Why do you suppose that is? Because it's not just adults, it's kids who are getting type 2 diabetes. So now it's called type 2 diabetes. The kid's now 13 or 14. He's constantly on this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster. He's eating donuts, he's eating cereal. Now he's liberated from the home, so he can eat sugar wherever he goes. There's plenty of sugar everywhere, supersized Slurpees, etc. All of this conspires to change the blood sugar. So remember, starting off with messed up gut bacteria, dysbiosis, digestive issues, high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster, dysglycemia. The kid is now 12 or 13 or 14. Now,
And storing plenty.
and storing plenty, and this is where childhood obesity issues come in. Now, the good news is, and also the bad news is, that when a human animal is in their teenage years, they're in the prime of their life. This may come as a shock, but our prime of our life is basically 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and by 18 or 19, we're kind of going downhill, or at least beginning to go downhill. The prime of our life is in our teenage years, so a lot of the dysbiosis and the dysglycemia is being disguised. Because when you're 13 or 14 or 15, you could do a lot of stuff. You can eat McDonald's, you can eat French fries, you can go out and party, go play football the next day. You can do a lot of things, and so it doesn't necessarily seem that you're really sick. Yeah, you may be packing on a few pounds, a few extra pounds. You may have belly aches, you may have acne, you may have rashes, but because the human body is so powerful and the hormone system is so robust at that age, we can get away with a lot of things. But come age 19, 20, and 21, things start to be a little different. And by the time we hit 28, something happens I call hitting the wall. which we can all relate to in this room. Because it was so close to you, for us it was far away, age 28. But you're what, how old?
27.
All right, you're going to hit the wall, or if you haven't already noticed it.
It's coming.
Okay, can you feel it coming?
A little bit.
Devin, how old are you?
26.
Okay, so you guys are young. How old are you, Ryan?
30.
Do you remember the wall?
Come on.
27, 28, hitting the wall, right? That's the wall. That's the accumulation of the dysbiosis and the dysglycemia that has been building up, and that was masked by the high testosterone and high estrogen and the hormonal push that you got, because really the body just wants to make a baby, and you're in the prime of your life between 13 and 19 to make babies. So the body is going to do everything it can do to make babies, and it will, unless you're really sick, it will override the dysbiosis and dysglycemia a little bit. You're still breaking down, but because your hormones, your anabolic system is so raging, you don't notice it as much. You can smoke cigarettes and go play football the next day, or you can go out and party and then go party the next day and the next day and the next day. Until one day, all of a sudden, you notice, hey, I get up in the morning, oh, my knees, oh, my joint, I don't feel great. I don't want to go. I partied yesterday. I don't want to go party again. What? You go party every day, James. You know that. Casey, you go out all the time. No, I don't feel like it anymore. Yeah, that's the wall. At that point, the high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster and the dysbiosis are starting to take their toll. Now, when you're going high blood sugar, low blood sugar, when the blood sugar is going up and the blood sugar is going down, you have a secondary hormone system that keeps your energy stable. This is an emergency generator. So like when your lights go out, you have an emergency generator, it keeps your lights on, and you can still do your business. Your body has an emergency generator hormone system. This emergency generator hormone system is housed in two little glands, about the size of walnuts, on the sides of your body towards the back, that live on top of your kidneys. What are those two little glands called?
Adrenal glands.
Called your adrenal glands. Exactly right. And so over the course of time, now you're like in your 20s, 22, 23, 24. Over the course of time, as your digestive system has been, your bacteria in your intestine have been out of whack, and your digestive system is out of whack, and your blood sugar system is out of whack. Over the course of time, your adrenal glands have been picking up the slack. When you're high blood sugar, your adrenal glands kick in to help you manage the high blood sugar. When you're low blood sugar, your adrenal glands kick in to help you handle the low blood sugar. Eventually, you start to get into this kind of jitteriness, this cortisol kind of energy that keeps you from falling asleep, or that you just don't feel right. It's coffee energy, I call it. Or what can happen is your cortisol levels can start to drop because you've been secreting so much cortisol, and you start to drink a lot of coffee. You start to drink a lot of soda pop to get you through the day. Caffeine duplicates stress hormone. So if your cortisol is low, you may find yourself drinking a lot of caffeine. This is why a lot of kids are hooked on Mountain Dew and soda pop, is to try to get that buzz so that to make up for the cortisol dropping. When cortisol is your stress hormone, when cortisol levels are chronically elevated, eventually your regular energy system starts to become affected. Body uses the regular energy system when you're healthy, but when your cortisol is kind of high and you're always running on coffee energy, the regular energy system will start to slow down a little bit. What gland controls energy? The regular energy system.
Thyroid.
The thyroid, exactly. And hyperadrenalism, hyper means a lot, adrenal activity means a lot of adrenal activity, hyperadrenalism and hypercortisolism eventually slow down the thyroid. The thyroid regulates everything. The thyroid is responsible for helping cells make energy. If they're muscle cells, they help muscle cells make energy. If they're heart cells, they help heart cells make energy. If they're skin cells, they help skin cells make energy. They help all of the cells of your body make energy. When your thyroid starts to slow down, everything slows down, and hypothyroidism is the jumping off point to all chronic degenerative disease. If you have a chronic degenerative disease, you are by definition hypothyroid. You do not need a test. You don't need to have your thyroid tested. Thyroid testing is notoriously the most inaccurate tests of all the diagnostics, and people who get thyroid tests are always like, but I feel like crap, doctor. Oh, but your thyroid is perfect. Or, but alternatively, but I feel fine, doctor. Oh, but your thyroid test scores are down. The thyroid issues can be detected or diagnosed by subsequent chronic degenerative diseases. There's no chronic degenerative disease, cancer, heart disease, Parkinson's, whatever, autoimmunity, that does not have hypothyroidism below. Now, These 3 points are what I call the triangle of disease: the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid complex. The reason this is important is, number one, if you try to address your Parkinson's, if you try to address your cancer, if you try to address any long-term health issue without addressing these 3 points, you will fail. Period. On the other hand, if you address those 3 points, even if you have stage 4 cancer, your health challenges will begin to get better. Now, if you're majorly deteriorated, like stage 4 cancer, it's going to take a lot longer for you to get to the point where your reversal you notice your reversal. To the extent you're broken down is the extent that you'll notice the reversal, but rest assured the healing process will begin as soon as you take care of these 3 points at the foundation. Alternatively, if you don't take care of these 3 points, nothing will work. That is so powerful because that liberates us. That creates a new paradigm, a freeing paradigm. We are now liberated from the medical model because there's nothing the doctor can do about dysbiosis. There's no drugs for dysbiosis. There's no drugs for digestive health challenges. But we can. There's nothing the doctor can do about diabetes. They'll tell you there's nothing we can do. You're going to be on this the rest of your life. There's no such thing as reversing diabetes. That's in his world. In our world, you control what you eat and you take care of certain supplements and do a few lifestyle things. You'll take care of your diabetes or your blood sugar issues. I don't even like the term diabetes. I call it dysglycemia, which is more descriptive. You know, one of the hallmarks, I'm just going to take a quick digression here. One of the hallmarks of the things that we talk about is your diagnosis doesn't matter from a healing perspective. What matters is your body's breaking down. Whether it's breaking down in the part of your brain over here that affects movement and you have Parkinson's, or whether it breaks down in your joints and you have arthritis, or whether it breaks down in your intestine and you have leaky gut syndrome or you have irritable bowel syndrome, it doesn't matter. The fact is you're breaking down, that's what counts. Your diagnosis is just a way of putting you in the computer. It's just a way of coding you for insurance purposes. It's just a way of putting you making it easier for the doctor to come up with a protocol for you. All he has to do is go to the book and say, oh, Parkinson's, you need this, this, and this. What we really need to understand is that the body is breaking down, and when it breaks down generically. It just breaks down. And then the third point is the adrenal thyroid complex. The adrenal glands you handle by nutrition, of course, but also by deep breathing techniques, meditation, relaxation strategies, etc. And then the thyroid is responsive to the adrenal glands. You never have to do anything for the thyroid. Anybody know anybody with hypothyroidism? You can't treat the thyroid. There's nothing you could do for the thyroid. Zippo, nada. But if you treat the adrenal glands and the blood sugar system, the digestive system, the thyroid will follow. It's the tip. It's the tip of the triangle. Yes.
Well, when a few years ago, I was in the hospital for congestive heart failure, and but one of the things when I was out, and Eric has told me about a lot of stuff with Wallach. I saw one of his videos, and vitamin B1, thiamine, is for the thyroid, isn't it?
You can't say it's for the thyroid. Thyroid cells need vitamins, but it's not a one-to-one relationship.
Well, I could have sworn he said there's one major vitamin.
I can't speak for Dr. Wallach, so I'm only speaking for me, so I can't talk to him.
I think the B1
But
was
you
for
don't-
one of the types of heart attacks that's preventable.
No, it was for the thyroid.
It's
gland,
not a
that's what-
one-to-one relationship. Is
Okay.
B1 important? You don't want to get around
Okay.
that. Do you hear what James said? This is really important because we in the health business sometimes practice allopathic nutrition. Okay? So allopathic, do you guys know what the word allopathy is? Allopathy, allo means against. It's Latin for against. Pathy means disease, pathology. Allopathy is the Latin term for how the medical model practices. You have this disease, we give you this remedy. Okay? That sounds silly from a pharmaceutical perspective because how is a drug going to help you with a pathology? But we have to be careful in the world of nutrition just as well than saying, oh, you have arthritis, you need essential fatty acids. Oh, you have heart disease, you need magnesium. Oh, you have diabetes, you need chromium. It's not a one-to-one relationship like that. Okay. And so you want to be careful about thinking, is B1 important for the thyroid? You bet it is. Is it important for the heart? You bet it is. But that doesn't mean that, oh, I have heart disease, I take vitamin B1. The reason that's important is because people will have this triangle going on, and they'll say, well, I'm going to take B1 for my thyroid, forgetting about the digestive system, forgetting about the blood sugar system. Oh, wait a minute. I took that B1 for my thyroid. It didn't work. You're a quack. How could you tell me that you gave me B1 doesn't work? That's silly. Or even worse, they'll do studies. Drug companies will do studies on vitamin B1. They'll say, well, we tested vitamin B1 for the thyroid and it didn't work. That nutrition is a bunch of hooey. And you see these studies all the time. I was just reading one about vitamin D and fractures. We tested vitamin D and it didn't help anybody with fractures. Does that mean vitamin D is not important for your bones? Hell yes, it's important for your bones, but it doesn't mean there's a one-to-one relationship. It's not like, you don't want to look at this, I have this problem, I take that supplement. Just like you don't want to look at it like I have this problem, I take that drug. It's not a one-to-one relationship. Nutrition is a system. Yeah.
Diagnosed with vitamin D deficiency, and that they want to cut my parathyroid glands out, which I didn't do.
Did you hear? Hang on just a second, James.
Sure.
Did you hear what they said? The parathyroid regulates calcium, right? So in order to take care of his calcium levels, they were going to actually take out a gland of his body. They were going to remove it, as if he didn't need it, as if there would be no other problems secondary to the removal of that gland, right? Okay, go ahead.
What was I going to say?
Vitamin D deficiency?
Yeah. Well, I've got a place on my shoulder. I mean, it'll stick, a knot that'll stick up like that. If I take too much calcium.
Okay.
And when I stop taking the calcium and take more vitamin D, it goes clear down.
Well, vitamin D deficiency, you may be deficient in vitamin D, so you're not processing calcium, so you put some vitamin D in the system. Vitamin D
so isn't that a one-to-one relationship?
Not quite, because you may have some digestive issues that are affecting how you're...
I've been off of gluten and taken Dr. Wallach's stuff for years.
Well, how old are you, James?
68.
Okay, so I'm 60, so we're both old fellas. So I'm gonna, when I pick on you, I'm picking on.
That's
on
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
Something happens to us, which you guys can have, and it's gonna awaiting you, young bloods here. It's called blobification. I call it blobification. See how lean and mean young 26-year-old Devin is there? Angular lines, straight lines. Not so much as we get older. We start to blobify. And all our chemistry starts to slow down. And everything becomes much more sluggish. The digestive system doesn't work as well. So that's what you're experiencing. You're experiencing the accumulation of all of that. The one-to-one relationship, you may have a really severe vitamin D deficiency, and as soon as you put some vitamin D in your system, now you're getting a little bit of benefit. But that doesn't mean that your problem is a vitamin D deficiency or it's too much calcium. You've got major structural problems going on in your body. You have one leg.
Right.
So that alone will give you major structural problems because you're going to be leaning. You're not going to be walking as well. In fact, did you have diabetes?
No, it was
aneurysm.
Yeah,
it was an aneurysm.
Okay, so you already had some issues going on before you lost the leg, but there's major structural problems, and this is common. You know, I have it. I'm 8 years younger than you. I have it too. So I'm sure you can relate. There's structural things that happen, right? Anton was at the peak of his life, prime of his life. Now you're how old? 56. 50, so you're getting there. Right. Second Saturn return, by the way. This is a really high. 28 is one key moment in your life. 56 is another. So you're going to start. When did you get diagnosed, by the way? 2 years ago. Okay, so that's the beginning of it. It's the second Saturn return. But you can be helped. Don't worry about it. So to answer your question, no, if you have a major vitamin C deficiency and you get scurvy, and then you put vitamin C in your body, yes, your scurvy will go away. Mm-hmm. But unless you have a frank nutritional deficiency in one nutrient specifically, you don't want to go this for that. You want to look at nutrition as a system. Vitamin D works with calcium. Vitamin D works with vitamin A. Calcium works with magnesium and potassium. Mm-hmm. They all of these things go together, and that's more. It's a better way to look at it.
And Ben, would it be accurate to say that if he wasn't taking like the Mighty 90, that vitamin D, when he takes that, it might not have.
It won't work as well.
It wouldn't have that
right.
profound of effect. So kind of like to go with what you said. It's a little bit of both because it is one-to-one, maybe a little bit in that situation per se.
If he's got a big
but if he didn't have that other stuff that was in there,
it would work a lot better if he had the whole Mighty 90, and if he did the whole triangle of disease.
Yeah.
So if you have a full-blown deficiency, and vitamin D is a very tricky one because it's not really a vitamin. We call it a vitamin, but it's not really a vitamin. It's an error in nomenclature because when they discovered, we've only known about vitamins for 100 years. Do you guys know this? The vitamins is a very new it's a new science. And so, we've only known about it since the 1920s, believe it or not. I mean, we knew there was stuff in food that was good for you, but we didn't know there were actually these little molecules that if you didn't get, you would have a disease. So when they were discovering vitamins in the 1920s and 1930s, they didn't really know what constituted a vitamin, what constituted a normal biochemical in the body, and they named vitamin D a vitamin, but the fact is you can make it. You make it in your skin. But you have to be out in the sun to get it, and that's the real issue. You got to be out in the sun, not just you're walking the dog, kind of sun. laying out in the sun in your bathing suit. Okay, don't freak out your neighbors, but lay out there. Get as much skin as possible. That's really the way we're supposed to get our vitamin D.
But you only need about 30 minutes a day.
And you don't need a lot at all. Not even that. 10, 15 minutes a day is plenty, especially if it's in the summer.
Does tanning beds do that?
The vitamin D comes in on the same energy frequency as burning rays. So when you go in a tanning bed, they filter those out. They don't want you to burn. So you have to risk burning to get the vitamin D. In a tanning bed, they don't do that. They only give you the UVA rays. They call them UVA. Have you heard these terms? UVA, UVB, UVC, right? So UVB is the burning ray, and that's filtered out at the tanning beds.
Okay,
But what you can do is you can get a sun lamp. You can get those on Amazon for $100. And you can just lay under the sun lamp. And if you're depressed, it's an amazing thing, amazing strategy, getting out and laying under the sun lamp.
For him with the calcium problem, vitamin K2?
And that's another thing, I forgot to mention that, K and calcium and D, they all work together. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so you got these 3 points in the triangle of disease. If you don't address them, forget it, you're out of luck. But if you do address them, you'll get better immediately. And by getting better, I mean begin to get better. It's not like you have cancer and all of a sudden you're not going to have it anymore. And for those of us in the business, how many of you guys are doing the business, by the way? Okay, so those of us in the business, our goal should be to help our clients feel better. You're not there to tell them to cure them. You're there to help them begin the reversal process. And the reversal process, the success of the reversal process can be measured by how well you feel. Do you have more energy? Is your skin looking better? Is your blood pressure starting to resolve? What kind of quality of life do you have? That's what we're looking for. And that's true about cancer. Cancer is that's the most horrific thing, is to be diagnosed with cancer. And stage 4 cancer is first of all, spontaneous remissions happen all the time. The body can remit. But those of us who are working with people who have autoimmunity or people who are broken down, and you wouldn't believe the kind of breakdowns people can have. The letters I get are so unbelievably tragic and horrific. They're all the ways the body can break down, and it's kind of a testimony to how strong the body is. Because no matter how broken down we are, we can still get by. The fact that we can still walk, some of these letters I get from people whose bodies are falling apart so significantly, it's amazing they can get out of bed and actually have a life, but they do. And so our job, if somebody is really, really sick, is to help people feel better. Forget their diagnosis, stage 4 cancer, I don't want to hear about it. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, whatever it is, type 1 diabetes, whatever your disease state is, our job as longevity people, and really as human beings, should just be to help our clients feel better. That's it. And that can be done with the triangle of disease. So I don't want to sit here and tell you you're going to cure things like that, but you will help your clients feel better right away. And that's worth the price of admission, right there. You're going to help your clients feel better no matter what their health challenge is, if you address these 3 points. Bad news, if you don't, forget it. There's nothing you could do except go to the doctor and be treated symptomatically, and the drugs in the long run are just going to make things worse. The good news is, if you work at the triangle of disease, everything will get better. So first of all, you work with the digestive system. Now, for those of us in longevity, when you tell your client who's sick about the digestive system, and you tell them how to work on the digestive system, which I'll tell you here in a second, several things happen. Number one, because there is so much power at the level of the digestive system, the center of the body is the core of the body. And there's actually a brain in the center of the system. When the body is dysfunctional at the center, everything else feels lousy. So when you work at the level of the digestive system, you immediately get results. Even a fast, just a one-day fast, a 24-hour day fast, a 24-hour one-day fast will help somebody who is significantly inflamed get better. I should tell you this. Behind all chronic degenerative disease, you have this word. And we hear this word all the time. What is that word? Inflammation. Okay? How many times have you heard about inflammation? But has anybody ever told us what inflammation is? Inflammation is a very interesting response. Inflammation, well, first of all, there's 2 kinds of inflammation. The kind of inflammation that most people know about is when they break their leg, or they sprain their ankle, or they get punched in the eye, or they fall. And that's the kind of inflammation where you get a big bruise. It turns purple, it's warm to the touch, maybe red, it's swollen. All of that is a specific type of inflammation.
Macro. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just thinking out loud.
That's
Sorry.
good.
I was thinking out
That's
loud.
good.
Sorry.
No, I'm impressed. Did you hear that? Where'd you hear that? That's awesome.
I've just studied. Yeah.
It's called macro-inflammation.
And you
That's
got
right. Macro means big.
micro, yeah.
But what's missed is there's another type of inflammation. This is the inflammation that causes disease. And because it is micro-inflammation, we don't recognize it. Micro-inflammation is the microscopic version of macro-inflammation. Macro-inflammation is when you fall on your elbow, you got a big swollen elbow, it's red, it's warm, it's painful. That in medical school, the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation are dolor, rubor, calor, and tumor. Anybody know what those means? Rubor. You speak Spanish? You speak Spanish, right? Rubor. Rub.
Redness?
Red. Yes, ruby. Rubor. Redness. Calor. Calore.
Calor.
Heat.
Heat.
I just don't know your Latin here. Tumor.
Or
Swelling. And dolor, pain. Those are 4 signs of inflammation. That's macro-inflammation. So you say, well, I don't have any inflammation. Where am I inflamed? Because you can't see micro-inflammation, but it's the same thing, but it's happening microscopically. Microscopically, you have swelling. Microscopically, you have changes in blood flow. Microscopically, you have you don't know that you have pain, but there is pain, microscopic pain, tiny pain that you don't recognize. Long story short is there's a micro-inflammatory process that's happening inside our bodies that is the end result of this triangle of disease. So the question becomes, what is inflammation? What is inflammation? What the heck is going on? Why would I get swelling? Why would I get clogging? Why would I get redness? Why would I get changes in blood flow? What's the purpose of inflammation?
heal.
Not quite. Inflammation doesn't heal. But you're on the right track.
To give you
What?
warning.
Triggers a response.
Say again?
It triggers a response.
On the right track, it's protection.
It's letting your body know something's wrong as well.
It's an airbag.
Airbag.
It's an airbag.
Airbag.
Okay? An airbag protects you. When you fall on your elbow, the body it will create an airbag. That inflammation is an airbag. It's protecting the joint. It's keeping the joint from being able to move. In short, inflammation is your best frickin' friend. It's saving your life. And that's true macroinflammation, and it's true microinflammation. Inflammation is a protective response. Inflammation is the way the body defends itself. If I tell you that all chronic degenerative disease has inflammation at its core, I'm telling you that all chronic degenerative disease, listen up, this is so important. All chronic degenerative disease is the end result of a protective response. Now, I'm not telling you this, making this up. I want you to logically understand this. If inflammation is protection, it's an airbag. Macroinflammation is an airbag. Microinflammation is a micro airbag. Microscopic inflammation is behind all health challenges. That means all health challenges, Parkinson's disease, autoimmune problems, cancer, are the end result of a protective response. But it's a protective response that never resolves itself. When you fall and you hurt your elbow, a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, it's gone. There's no more inflammation. When you have a chronic long-term degenerative disease, you are suffering from the end result of a protective response that never resolved itself. I'm trying to go somewhere here, so I want to make sure that you understand what I just said. Chronic degenerative disease is the end result of a defensive response, a protective response that never ended. It's a chronic protective response. When you have chronic microinflammation, that is when you have a chronic long-term disease state, you have a chronic protective response that never ends. So now we have to say, what is the idea of protection and defense? Because if you have protection and you have defense that's required for the body, what does that imply? That implies there's some kind of offending agent. The body needs to protect itself from something. I'm getting somewhere here, so I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. Okay? The protective response, the defensive response, by definition, tells you there's an offending agent that has gotten into the system. You with me? Okay? So now we got somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. If all chronic degenerative disease is really protection, it's really the body trying to save us from something, and you want to end that saving, you want to end that protection, what is the logical, not the doctor, not the medical, the logical thing to do? If you want to end a protective response, a defensive response that's chronic and that's blocking activity and that's causing problems inside the body, what is the logical thing to do?
Find the antagonist and get rid of it.
Find what's causing the protective response. Okay. I mean, this is not medical, this is logic. Did I say anything yet that you need a medical degree for? This is hardcore. This is logic, okay? So you have this long-term protective response. It's causing blockages inside the body which lead to deterioration and degeneration and long-term degenerative disease. We want to stop that defensive response, so we got to figure out what is the defending agent, okay? Now, when we talk about microinflammation, we're talking about inside the body. So if we want to stop a defensive response inside the body, we got to figure out what's getting inside the body. Okay, well, the body is here, it's inside. So how do things get inside the body? Well, you can inject them, you know, and it's true, people who do IV drug abuse or vaccines, they can end up with chronic long-term degenerative diseases because they've now injected stuff into their body. And when we say in science, in biology, when we say inside the body, we mean inside the blood. Okay? The blood is the life. The flesh of the blood, the life of the flesh is in the blood. It says in the Bible. The blood goes from head to toe. Okay? So the blood is the sacred space, and it's highly protected. It's inside the body. When we say something got inside the body, we mean something has gotten into the bloodstream, into the circulatory system, technically. Now, we can do it through injection, okay? And that happens occasionally, and like I say, if you have vaccinations can initiate problems. People who shoot up crack or heroin, that can cause problems. But for the most part, most people aren't injecting a lot of things into the skin. So how else do things get into the body?
Eating.
Well, air's a little bit, that's true, and that can happen a little bit.
Through the skin.
Through the skin is one way, but that happens a little bit, maybe through creams sometimes. What's the most important way? How we're sticking stuff inside our body for most of us every 2 hours? Food! Hello! And now, on top of that, we've already got a compromised digestive system from the dysbiosis, right? So we got a messed up digestive system. We're constantly putting stuff inside the body, the wrong kind of stuff in the body. We don't know. The food we eat today, you guys, didn't exist 100 years ago. So we're all eating food that didn't exist, even farm food, because the soils were different and the air was different. No food. There's zero food today that you can get that existed a mere 100 years ago or 150 years ago. So we're all eating foreign food to the body. We've already got a situation of dysbiosis. The main point of entry of the enemy is through the digestive system, which is why if you focus on food and the digestive system, you will get immediate results, and you can prove this to yourself by fasting. And so when you tell your client, when you have your client, you tell them to focus on the digestive system first, you will get results. Immediately your client is going to say to you, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. What else can I do? So you want to demonstrate to him the power of his lifestyle choices. And that's why the first thing you do is focus on the digestive system. The second, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, to me that seems to be the hardest part of this whole thing, is that when you have to focus on that, not everybody has access
to good food,
to that food, or even understands or is educated enough to understand that the marketing that they're given isn't necessarily what
you mean, like people talking about,
like Simply Truth Organic.
Or grass-fed beef that's not grass-finished. Yeah.
You know, there is an element where people have to participate.
Yeah.
Right? There is that element, and yes, we live in an information jungle. It's an information war, and you do have to have a sickle or a machete, and you got to cut through all that. But the beautiful thing about this stuff is immediately once you point people in that direction of the digestive system, they will start to notice results, and that's what you're looking for. So first of all, they're going to get results, but second of all, they're going to start to look at you as an authority. Okay, and that's what you want. As a salesperson, you want to be valuable. The most important thing a salesperson can do to a customer is bring value. If you have fibromyalgia, do you guys know what fibromyalgia is? It's when you have pain from head to toe. Can you imagine the worst soreness you ever had in a workout, right? The worst soreness you ever had in a workout, multiplied by 10, and have it from head to toe and never stops. That's fibromyalgia. But when you put somebody on a fast, their fibromyalgia symptoms begin to subside, to the extent that they're fasting. Their blood pressure problems will start to subside. Your Parkinson's will start to subside. You don't want to go low blood sugar, but you'll start to notice that Parkinson's symptoms start to subside. So the first thing is you're going to notice results. The second thing is you're going to be an authority. Okay, so when you focus on food, you tell them to focus on food, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. The first thing is they're going to get results. The second thing they're going to get, they're going to see you as an authority. But the third point is, and this is maybe the most important point of all, especially apropos your question. The third point is you will vest your patient or your client in their own healing. And that's what you want to do. Yes, you want them to see you as valuable. You're a resource. You have information. Yes, you want them to see the power of their choices. And that's their lifestyle choices. That's what fasting can do, or focusing on the digestive system. But third, you will make them complicit in their own healing process. And that's what you want. You don't want a customer that you're pulling teeth. You want a customer who's participating. And so what I always do, the first thing I do is I tell my patients, get yourself a notebook and do a food diary.
Food diary.
Write down everything. If you haven't done one yet, you should definitely do one. Write down everything you eat in a notebook. And then next, put in columns. You have one column, everything I ate. Taco and sandwich and hamburger and pizza, whatever it is. Put it on the side here. And then next to it, how you feel. Next to it, how your digestive system feels, how your skin feels, how your energy levels are, your thinking, your movements. Whatever it is, you start to chart. If you go to the hospital, they chart everything. They chart your food, they chart your meds, they chart your symptoms, they chart your blood pressure, they chart your heart rate, they chart everything. You become your own doctor, you chart. You write everything down in a book. And then what that does for your client is, all of a sudden they're vested, number one. Number two, they start to see, oh my God, every time I have pizza, I bloat. Every time I have ice cream, I get a rash. Every time I have a soda pop, I start to shake, whatever. They start to see. You guys don't underestimate the epiphany this is for most people. You know, we're used to it. We've heard this before. For 99% of people out there, they have no clue that their rash has to do with their pizza, or their foggy brain has to do with their milk, or whatever it is. They start to see. A food diary is incredibly valuable. Number one, it shows them that you know what you're talking about. Number two, they start to see what's happening. They can relate. And number three, it vests them. And number four, they start to feel some power. The doctor's not giving them any power. The doctor's not giving them any control. Now they see, I have some control here. I have some power. So the first thing you do is a food diary, always. I never say, if anybody ever comes to me, I always start off with a food diary. The second thing is you start to work with the digestive system. A food diary is great, but now you got to do what's called the elimination diet. And the elimination diet is where you start to eliminate things. You start to eliminate foods. Now, the good news is that it's pretty obvious, because the foods that we eat the most are the foods that usually cause the biggest problems. The bad news is it's usually our favorite foods. It's usually our go-to foods. It's usually the food that we go to when we're in a pinch, or when we're really bored, or when we have some kind of stress hits us. That's usually the food that causes the most problems. So there's some good news, bad news there. And if they want to, if they really want to cut to the chase and they don't want to spend a lot of time, just eliminate the foods you love the most. And that usually is what happens. That's usually what's causing most of the problems. After a while, when your system is completely clean, you can have a little bit of ice cream. You can have a little bit of milk. You can have a little bit of gluten. You can have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not like they have to feel like they never can have that again, but until they get resolved, it's probably a good idea to stop doing it, to stop eating that food. The second thing you do is you start to build. So you got the food diary, you got the elimination diet. That takes care of the enemy coming in. The second thing you got to do is you got to build the defense system. When I say the defense system, I literally mean the defense system. The body has structured the organs so that the heart, the key element of defense, is the intestine, which makes sense because that's where everything enters into the blood. So you strengthen the intestine. First thing is probiotics, good bacteria. Now, I told you the whole story of dysbiosis, how dysbiosis begins. I'm not going to go into that. But once you put good bacteria in the system, either through supplements or through food, ideally through both, you'll start to notice results. Probiotics, we have a product called Nightly Essence, which is an excellent probiotic. It's also got digestive enzymes in it. But if you don't want to do longevity, are you guys all doing, can I just talk longevity here? Is that okay? Any nine? Okay, so Nightly Essence. And then fermented foods. Apple cider vinegar, kombucha, kimchi, miso, tempeh, and just any kind of fermented foods. There's a great book called The Art of Fermentation that completely simplifies fermenting. Fermentation is so simple because it's just bacteria. And there's bacteria everywhere. So you take some cabbage, you slice it up, You put it in a bowl. You go to Vitamin Cottage or Natural Grocers and you get yourself some bacterial starter, which is just bacteria. You rip it open, you put it on the cabbage, and you cover it up. You get sauerkraut. And that's how easy it is to make your own fermented foods. You just put starter on vegetables and keep it in a dark space for a little bit. Also, digestive enzymes are important. There's an amino acid called glutamine, if you haven't heard of that. That's really important for the digestive system. Anything with bone broth will help build the digestive system and the immune system, including bone broth protein. I think we have a bone broth protein. Bone broth protein can be very helpful for the digestive system. And then all of it comes within the context of the Healthy Start Pack, because there's a lot of things in the Healthy Start Pack that are important for digestive health, even though it's not marketed that way. Essential fatty acids are very important for digestive health. Zinc and vitamin C are both very important for the intestine, especially vitamin C. So the Healthy Start Pack. And the second point you go to is the blood sugar system. The blood sugar system, again, diabetes is so tragic to me. Do you know that's like the third leading cause of death now is diabetes? And blood sugar issues, or dysglycemia, and by the way, you don't have to be diagnosed an official diabetic to have messed up blood sugar. You can tell you have messed up blood sugar if you're craving sugar, if you're starting to have weight issues, if you have blood pressure, cardiovascular, or kidney issues, whether or not you've been diagnosed as a diabetic. Pretty much everybody's going to have some messed up blood sugar. And blood sugar is responsive largely to what we eat. So you control diabetes by changing the way you eat. More fiber, more protein. And by the way, protein can get turned into sugar, so you got to be a little bit careful with more protein. More fat. The ketogenic diet is an absolutely spectacular way to eat for everybody. It's an anti-aging diet, it is a anti-disease diet, and it is a anti-cancer diet, it's a weight loss diet, it's an anti-diabetic diet, it's the anti-dementia diet. It's the perfect way to eat. Are you doing keto? Try to do keto as much as possible. What is the key element? I know you guys know this because I say this all the time. What's the key element in keto? What is the ketogenic diet?
Low calories.
1,200 or below typically
Yes.
for a non-athlete.
You guys all know this. Most people, the average person, if you tell them keto, what are they going to say?
Eat a lot of fat.
Eat a lot of fat, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not the most important part of keto. The most important part of keto is the calorie part. Low calorie. The body doesn't like heat. You ever hear cryotherapy? Have you guys heard of cryotherapy? Cryotherapy is when they actually heal you with cold. They actually use cryotherapy for anti-aging. They'll put you in this chamber that has liquid nitrogen. Have you seen these things? You ever hear of Antonio Brown?
Oh yeah,
Right?
Antonio Brown. His feet
Antonio
got,
Brown,
his feet
yeah,
got
yeah.
all screwed up.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He didn't put the right shoes on,
He did cryotherapy,
Yeah.
right? It's because the athletes are all doing cryotherapy because it helps you recover. Cryo means what?
Cold.
Cold.
Yeah.
Cold therapy. The body likes cold. It heals better in cold. It doesn't like heat. Does your computer like heat? No. You got to have a little fan in the hard drive. Your car doesn't like heat either. That's why it's got a fan. Machines don't like heat. The body doesn't like heat either. What's the Latin word for heat? Calor, as in?
Calories.
Calories. Calories mean heat. Low calorie cools the body down. You want to keep the calories down. The ketogenic diet is a cooling diet. Yes, it's high fat, but and it's not even high fat, it's high percentage fat. It's not high fat. Bacon is not on the ketogenic diet, I'm sorry to say. Okay, maybe one strip, but even then. People think, oh, ketogenic diet, I love fat. I can have bacon, and I can have pizza, and I can have ice cream. It's keto, I'm keto, I'm eating ice cream. No, you gotta keep your calories down, and you want about 80% of those calories to come from fat. That's not a lot. If you have 1,200 calories a day, 80% of those calories is what? What's that? It's like 960 calories. That's maybe, that's probably 960 calories of fat would be probably like two almond butter sandwiches would be like, or 2 or 3 almond butter sandwiches would be. There's probably about 120 or 130 calories in a teaspoon of almond butter. So you got to keep it all in perspective. So keto is low calorie and high percentage of your calories coming from fats, because when you burn fat, it's a much cooler way to get energy. When you burn sugar, remember sugar burns hot.
Yep.
So you want to keep it down low, keep the heat down low. So the second thing is you focus on blood sugar. Ketogenic diet is great. And then also fiber is important. Also, one of the all-time great ways to lower your blood sugar, this is so simple and so obvious. Okay? When we talk about high blood sugar, we don't mean high blood sugar. We mean high blood sugar concentration. See, we say high blood sugar. That's not the right word. That's not the right phrase. What we mean is high blood sugar concentration. What are we talking about being concentrated?
Insulin.
No. What's the sugar? You have a high blood sugar concentration in what part of the body? In your eyes?
Bloodstream.
It's blood.
Blood, yeah.
Blood sugar. So that means your blood is saturated with sugar. So if you want to dilute the sugar in your blood, what do you think the simplest way would be?
Drink water. Eliminate the sugar.
Drink water.
Water, yeah.
Water. It's perfect. Any diabetics here? Or anybody who takes their blood sugar? Do you test your blood sugar? No? Ask anybody who would test their blood sugar, and they'll tell you first thing in the morning their blood sugar is always higher. Because you're dehydrated first thing in the morning. You've gone to the bathroom once or twice or 3 times even. You haven't drank water in 8 hours that you were sleeping. Your blood sugar is dehydrated. So your sugar goes up. Your blood sugar goes up. They can't figure out what to do. You know what you do?
When I wake up every day.
Exactly. 3, 4 glasses of water. All day long drink water. Now, when you're drinking more water, you're going to dilute your blood sugar, especially if you fall off the wagon. Especially if you're like, I'm on a diet and I'm watching my sugar and now it's Christmas and I went to a Christmas party, ate a bunch of cookies or whatever. Drink a bunch of water as soon as you can. First thing in the morning, drink a bunch of water. It's the simplest way. When was the last time a doctor wrote a prescription for water? That's the kind of things that we need to be focusing on. Okay, so drinking more water, fiber, moving your body is very important. When you exercise, more sugar goes into the muscles. You burn more sugar when you move, so if you fall off the wagon, or even after every meal, take a walk around the block, do some kind of exercise. Yes?
Is there a different or a type of water that's better than the other?
Personally, I like distilled because it's clean. Reverse osmosis is also clean. You definitely don't want tap water, that's for sure. You want to avoid that like the plague. Only God knows what's in the tap water. There's like 800 or 900, there's even more. There's in the thousands of different chemicals that are in different pollutants and toxins that are in tap water. They test for 80.
A lot of heavy metals.
There's also fecal material.
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Human fecal material. What's that?
Letting your children drink tap water is like giving them stupid pills.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Lowers your IQ. Fluoride lowers your IQ. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Calcifies the pineal.
Oh, and that's the stuff we know about.
Physiologist.
What about the antibiotics in the water?
Yeah, the stuff we don't know about.
Stuff you
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's awful. Tap water is awful. How about if you live in Flint? We're lucky to live here. But that's an extreme example. But what about New York City and other big cities where they have old copper pipes from the 1800s that are running the water through? It's horrible. I drink distilled personally. Every once in a while, somebody will come up to me and say, "Oh, it's thirsty water."
Rob, you're buying nutrients.
Yeah, Rob, you're buying nutrients. I'm not buying it. Have some minerals.
You know what fluoride is?
What's that?
It's a byproduct of aluminum.
It's a waste product. That's exactly right. They didn't know what to do with all that fluoride.
Right.
So they just put it
Would you say you wouldn't drink alkaline water? You're just not a proponent of it? I know
Alkaline water?
Some people are worried about the digestive process with it. I know
Once
that.
the water hits your stomach, it ain't alkaline.
That's what I figured.
So
yeah.
it's
Some
kind of
it's like
silly.
yeah.
But you do get, if they alkalinize with some minerals,
Sure.
then you'll get minerals.
Good. Good.
So,
Okay.
you get the benefit of that. But as far as changing the pH of your body
not-
with
yeah.
alkaline water, that's not
Yeah.
right.
You actually have 5 different systems in your body that are different.
Control the pH.
Yeah.
That's exactly. What's the number one way the body controls pH? You know this.
Let's see, number one way.
If you want to alkalinize in a jiffy, in a second, it's called O2. Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Okay.
Oxygen is how the body alkalinizes. That's why deep breathing,
And the
SDR breathing is so
Blood.
important.
So the blood pretty much 7.36. I think it's
7.34.
3.4.
It
Okay.
stays there.
And no matter what, yeah. And if it doesn't,
Unless you're really sick.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. A lot of people don't.
And
aren't
it'll
there.
force the acid from the blood into other places.
It'll do all
based
kinds of
on it. Yeah.
mechanisms. The
Yeah.
kidneys will take care of it, the adrenal glands, there's all kinds of mechanisms. All right, so then you come with micronutrients, supplements, and they can be very helpful. The sweeties is really important. I say everybody with a CDD, with a chronic degenerative disease, we usually only market it to people who are officially diabetics. I'm not officially diabetic. I take 9 of them a day.
Wow.
I take 3 with every time I eat. I take 3, at least 3, but depending on how many meals, I take 3 after meals. And then now we have glucogenics. Fucoid Z also will help with blood sugar. Selenium can help you with, is an important part of the production of insulin. Sulfur is an important part of the production of insulin. And then the B vitamins, especially thiamine. Vitamin B1 is your anti-sugar vitamin. That's why Dr. Wallach talks about it for the heart, because thiamine helps control heart energy, or has one of the things it does. So, but all the B complex. You don't want to just take one of the B vitamins.
Right.
So, and that's the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine is an anti-dysglycemic supplement for a couple reasons. Number 1, it gives you nutrients that help you with blood sugar. But number 2, when you take your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you tend to eat less. Has anybody noticed this? When you're supplementing with BTT, you're not as hungry. So diabetic. Now, what's important here for you guys to recognize is you don't have to be diagnosed as a diabetic because of this triangle. This is true about all health challenges. You treat everybody like a diabetic. You treat everybody like they got dysbiosis and messed up gut bacteria, and your Parkinson's will get better. Your autoimmune symptoms will get better. Your fibromyalgia will get better, and that's our goal. We want our clients to feel better, to feel stronger, to have more energy. Then the third step is the third point on the triangle of disease is the adrenal glands. You don't work on the thyroid. It's called the adrenal thyroid complex because the thyroid is the jumping off point, but you can't work on the thyroid. Let me say that again. Unless you have full-blown iodine deficiency. If you have an iodine deficiency, you can take iodine, that's for sure, and you'll get a goiter. You'll know. But if you just have hypothyroidism and you try to work, there's nothing you could do. They can't do anything. And hyperthyroidism, that's when your thyroid is out of whack the other way. When it goes too fast, there's nothing they can do. They take the thyroid out, or they give you radiation to radiate the thyroid. If you're hypothyroid, all they can do is give you thyroid hormone or armor thyroid. There's nothing they can do because the thyroid is the end result. In science, in medicine, we call it the sequelae. Like a sequel to a movie, the sequelae are the things that happen after. The thyroid disease is a sequelae. It happens after everything. But you can, by working on the digestive system and the blood sugar system and the adrenal glands, you can work on the thyroid and then you can work on everything else. Automatically, by default, it'll automatically happen. So the adrenal glands, they're your stress glands. So the first thing you do, and this is for everybody who comes to you with a chronic degenerative disease, this triangle, you work on the digestive system with the enzymes and with the probiotics, and fermented foods, and the bone broth protein, etc., and the elimination diet. You're working on the blood sugar with the sweeties and the glucogenics and the ultimate selenium and the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the ketogenic diet. Now you're working on the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are your stress glands. The first thing you do is you relax the body. Now, to me, I'm a guy, I love to relax. It blows me away how hard it is for people to relax. And I'm not talking about relaxing, just like going on vacation, because when you go on vacation, you need a vacation from your vacation. It's funny because there's a guy named Blaise Pascal. Anybody heard of Blaise Pascal? Famous?
Oh, that sounds really familiar.
He's a totally famous inventor, scientist, philosopher from the 17th century, or 16th century. He said, all of man's problems.
Oh, I know what you're going to
You know this quote?
Yeah.
All of man's
Can't
problems.
sit in a room and think by himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. All the problems would be solved. Yeah,
Yes.
I remember him.
Yes.
Yeah.
If man could figure out how to sit in a room quietly by himself, all our problems would be solved.
Yeah.
He said that in the 16th century, right? What he meant is we can't sit still. We can't stop. It's like, this is my theory of it, and I've just examined in my life why I can't sit still. If you sit still, there's this emptiness. This is why people can't fall asleep, by the way. There's an emptiness that is absolutely terrifying. This is why people can't meditate. Anybody try to meditate and you can't meditate, you just go crazy? Because we can't face the void, the emptiness. The emptiness where we don't exist. And your ego will do everything it could do. It will make you be a workaholic. It will make you be a nonstop studier. It'll make you be an exercise-aholic. It'll make you an eat-aholic. In fact, check this out. How many of you guys have one food that you absolutely cannot resist? That if it was put in front of you, you couldn't resist it, and if you were completely stressed out, you would be at 7-Eleven or at the supermarket getting food. Okay, you have one of those? Don't tell me what it is.
No.
You got one?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what it is. You're laughing. You know that, right? And I want you to try something, young Casey, okay? I want you to pretend, bring up the desire for this yummy food, whatever it is. You want that food now, right? It's a really good. Now, watch young Casey. Pretend you cannot have that food and feel the terror start to arise. You feel it? That happens every time you want a food. There will be a terror that will arise at the mere thought of not getting that food, or not getting that cigarette, or not having that cup of coffee. You feel it? You feel your favorite food, your favorite addiction, whatever it is. It could be work, it could be caffeine, it could be sex, it could be ice cream, it could be cigarettes, it could be anything, alcohol, whatever. There will be a terror that will arise. Feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah? And you know what? Because we never sit with that terror, we automatically get the cigarette. You'll automatically get the food. You'll automatically get whatever it is. So being able to, what Blaise Pascal noticed is that we can't sit still because we can't confront that terror. That's what's going to happen. In fact, the brain has a hardwired system in it called the default mode network. Anybody hear this? The default mode network, the DMN. The default mode network is a neurological pathway in the brain. It's a mode, it's a network, a neurological network. It's a mode, a way of functioning. That's what a mode is. It's a way of functioning that you will automatically go into by default. I'm not making this up, this is a scientific term, the default mode network. The default mode network is known as the voice in your head. The voice in your head will always fill in empty spaces. Always. That's why, you like that, right? Yeah. That's why we can't meditate, because the default mode network will kick in, because it doesn't like empty spaces, because empty spaces represent its death. That's why we can't handle the empty space. That's why we compulsively smoke, we compulsively do caffeine, we compulsively get ice cream. Whatever the thing you love the most is, your addiction, notice how the soothing quality of that addiction, the relief that's generated by that addiction, lasts about a minute, or 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. It lasts a very, very short period of time, and all of a sudden you want the addictive substance again because you can't handle the emptiness. I'm saying you, we can't, nobody can. Human beings can't handle that emptiness. Learning how to sit in silence is incredibly important. And the best way to do it is to give your brain something to focus on.
I was going to say, I've done,
Meditation.
well, Kundalini yoga for 50 years.
You always focus on one thing.
Well, meditation means to focus. People it's not sitting in total silence. It's creating something to focus on.
Right.
And yoga is your breath. Because everything, that's
the easiest thing.
We don't exist without our breath.
That's the easiest thing to focus on is the breath. It's always
that's
there.
what yoga is all about, is focusing on the breath.
Well, there's one more thing that's more fundamental. I'll tell you what that is in a second since you brought it up. But the breath is the easiest because it's always with you. You're never without a breath. And it's a really miraculous phenomena, the breath is. I mean, think about it. You can't stop breathing. There is a brain inside your body that will make you breathe. You can't stop. So when you're meditating, you can meditate on the sound and the feeling of the breath. You can meditate on the tip of your nose. You can feel it coming out. What I do is I meditate on the miracle of it, the phenomena of it. Just what the heck is going on here? How is my body doing this all by itself? It's a really amazing phenomenon. And you're right, just focusing will get you into a meditative state. It's funny because we have a hard time focusing, but the brain loves to focus. It doesn't like chaos. It loves focus. And that's why when you go into a meditative state, or when you focus on something, and by the way, you can focus on the sounds, the air conditioner. You can focus on the cars going outside. You can focus on anything in your environment. You can focus on on a part of your body. Anything you focus on will immediately put your brain into what's called an alpha state, an alpha brainwave state, and it will immediately lower your cortisol. And this is why multitasking is such a problem. We live in a world of multitasking. In fact, have you noticed how wherever you go now, if you go where there's a large group of people, what is almost everybody doing? Exactly. They're looking at their phone. Looking at the phone is a way of avoiding the void. It's a perfect way of avoiding the void. I know I freak out when I don't have my phone. I freak out when I'm going to go in an elevator without my phone, because I have to wait 15 seconds in the elevator without looking at my phone. That's how powerful the fear of the void is. But focusing is a perfect thing to do. What you can focus on, though, the breath is the.
Well, it's not just your breath. It's
perfect. The breath is
an idea.
An idea is good too. The breath is perfect.
Meditation means to focus.
Right.
That's the part of yoga that is the meditation. Is you initially
you can focus on your fingernail.
Yeah, but you initially do that, and then it's beyond that is the yoga just takes over itself. It's not even meditation.
Focusing is the key. The brain loves to focus, and that's what lowers your cortisol. So finding one thing to focus on. Personally, the next time, you might want to try this, okay? Next time you have that drive and you feel the terror, focus on the terror. Feel it. See what it feels like. Focus on where it is on your body. Give it a color. Give it a texture. See where it is. See how it rises and how it drops. Just notice its qualities. And that's why I say, to me, the breath is the perfect thing to focus on, because it's always with you. And it's always in this perfect rhythm. But even better, that's why I say it's the second best. The best is to focus on the void.
Well, you embrace the void.
Not embrace, focus.
Well,
you can embrace. You can embrace it. I mean, I don't know if
it's your perspective on it. Everybody has.
I don't know what you mean by embrace. Hug it?
No, accept it.
Like don't run from it, I guess is what you mean.
Become part of it, and it becomes part of you, and you lose it. I mean, it just goes away because of your focus.
I'll take that.
Just because of your focus.
I'll take that. Yeah, embrace is good. I like embrace. It's funny because...
Well, not being afraid of it. Like you're telling him, embrace
Not being afraid of it.
Not
Embrace
being
is
afraid
good.
of it.
No, embrace. I like embrace.
And, well, whatever term you
I
want
like
to use.
it. You know why I like embrace? Because embrace to me means yes. And yes to me is the philosopher's stone. Do you ever hear the philosopher's stone? The philosopher's stone is this thing that Hermeticists, have you heard this term, the philosopher's stone? Hermeticism, ancient alchemists were fascinated with turning lead to gold. They wanted to know how to turn lead to gold. But that's just the physical perspective of alchemy. The metaphysical aspect of alchemy is to turn the crap into your life into something good. And the philosopher's stone to me is yes. It's embracing. And so I'm a big believer in embracing and yes. But even if you don't embrace it, just examine it. Examine it.
And accept it.
Even if you don't accept it, just examine it.
Well,
just look at it.
yeah.
Just look at it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not at the point where you can say yes to it, say, okay, what color does it have? What does it feel like? You know, where's it located geographically compared to me? And there's all kinds of questions you can ask yourself. Point being, it lowers your cortisol.
And you're focusing on something.
It'll lower your cortisol. Cortisol suppresses your immune system. That's why they give you hydrocortisone cream when you have a rash, because it suppresses your immune system. That's why they'll give you prednisone if you have an allergic reaction, because it suppresses your immune system. So cortisol shuts down your immune system. It makes you more likely to have cancer. It makes you more likely to have immune problems, immune diseases. Cortisol raises your blood pressure. Cortisol keeps you from healing. Cortisol makes you get older. Cortisol deteriorates your muscles and your bones. Cortisol slows down your digestive system, and cortisol slows down your thyroid. So anything you could do to reduce cortisol. Now, cortisol gets a bad rap, and deservedly so, but you do need a little bit of cortisol to get your butt out of bed in the morning. And in fact, most people have a surge of cortisol first thing in the morning or in the middle of the night. They'll have, you okay? Good? Okay. Most people have a surge of cortisol first thing in the morning, or sometimes they'll have it in the middle of the night. If you wake up from a nightmare, you'll, boom, your cortisol will go up and you won't be able to go back to sleep. Some people don't. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep? Cortisol. Do you ever feel tired and you can't fall asleep? Cortisol. So cortisol has a bad rap. I don't want to demonize it too much because it's important, but lowering your cortisol is critical in this triangle of disease model. Meditation, breathing, keeping your blood sugar stable. Remember, cortisol is rescuing you from the high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster, so keeping your blood sugar stable is very important. And then there's wonderful nutrients that you can take for your adrenal glands. The YGYOntario tangerine has vitamin C, which is maybe the most important nutrient for the adrenal glands. Zinc is very important for the adrenal glands. Potassium is very important for the adrenal glands. The B complex, essential fatty acids, are all very important for the adrenal glands. And then lastly, you're going to hear more and more about this in the coming months and years, is accessing what's called the vagus nerve.
Oh, he knows
Okay?
a lot about the vagus
Okay, now you're starting to hear people talking about the vagus nerve. Okay? The vagus nerve is it's also known as the 10th cranial nerve, and it's the nerve that connects psyche to soma. It's the nerve that connects your mind, psyche meaning the psychology or psychological aspect, with the body, the soma. It all comes through the vagus nerve. So you think a thought in your cranium, in your brain, it goes down the vagus nerve, and it will make your blood pressure change, it will make your digestive functioning change, it will make your wound healing change, it will create all of the changes in the body that we call psychosomatic that are associated with either stress or relaxation. The cool thing about the vagus nerve is you can hack into it. And breathing is one of the best ways to hack into the vagus nerve. You can also touch points in your body where the vagus nerve is concentrated, like the top of your mouth where your soft palate meets your hard palate. If you put your tongue, you'll feel an area where it goes from hard to soft, right? The hard palate's in the front, and the soft palate. See where the hard becomes the soft? If you press in that area, you'll activate the vagus nerve. In fact, if people have the hiccups, activating the vagus nerve is a great way to end the hiccups. And by pressing in that area with your tongue, you can actually end your hiccups. And yogis, since you brought it up, that's when they meditate, they will put their tongue right in that area
Well,
to
that's
activate the vagus
also
nerve.
to stimulate the pineal gland.
Probably has something to
Ancient
do with
Greeks.
that. Probably has something to do
Well,
with
that's
that. Well,
what
looking
I was
up.
told anyway.
Well, looking up. When you meditate, if you look up at your pineal gland, and by the way,
Well,
your
you're
pineal
looking at your third eye.
Third eye.
Your third eye is a reflection of the pineal gland.
That's right. If you
And-
look up at your third eye.
And
look
that's the tools of one of the tools of yoga. And the tools are simply sitting straight with your spine as straight as you can, with your palms upturned, head turned up back slightly, and looking
with
through
your eyes looking up.
with your You
want
don't
your
even
eyes
have to,
looking
you
up?
look out. You look out to a point of infinity.
Well, if you look up with your eyes, or if you look on the outside part of your eyes, that's another way to activate the vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
Looking upwards or looking outwards. Open focus. In fact, if you do it right, we tend to focus this way. We're always looking for something. We're always looking for lions and tigers and bears. So we're focusing out of the center of the eye. When you focus out of the sides of your eye, you activate not only the vagus nerve, but you'll start to see things in your peripheral vision. This is how people see auras. When you're just looking at an aura, if you look at somebody out of the sides of your eyes, you look at me. If you guys look at me out of the sides of your eyes and figure out how to do that, you'll actually see something around me. That's how you actually see auras. It's by looking at, and you can do it to a tree.
Can you see your own aura?
I can't.
I can.
I
have for years.
Are you activating?
You don't have
Is it
to.
through
No,
your
I don't.
peripheral,
do-
or-
No, it was.
You're not looking out of the center.
Huh?
You're not looking at the center of your eyes.
Well, you don't. You're looking through it. You're not looking at it.
You know what else?
You're looking through it, so it's the.
You know what
that's
else
the
is?
thing.
You know what else is where you look through, like you're explaining? It's
What?
called the magic eye. Have you ever seen the magic eye books? Tell me you've never seen the magic eye books.
So.
Nobody's seen the magic eye books? Come on. You have? Magic eye books are these amazing. You haven't seen the magic eye books?
Never
They
heard
were
of it.
big in the 90s. You have this book, and it looks like a bunch of gibberish, but if you look at it like you're saying through, instead of at but through, pictures emerge out of the book.
Or like whenever there
Oh,
would be
wow.
two different objects, but you can only see one at a time.
No,
Like
that's a parallax.
That's different.
That's a
okay.
parallax.
Okay.
That's a little bit different. The Magic Eye books are these books that came out in the 90s. I cannot believe that nobody knows
I
about
don't
them.
think
They were
so.
like
Never heard of
huge.
them.
They were
Never
huge in
heard
the
of
90s.
them.
You never heard of them either? Go Google Magic Eye. So there's these books, and you open them up, and it looks like gibberish, but if you do just what you're saying, you look through, and it's not easy to do, pictures emerge in three dimensions. Three
Well,
dimensions
three dimensions,
out of
yeah.
the book. Yeah, you can buy them at Barnes & Noble. Magic
Wow.
Eye books. It's
Ben,
really
have
cool.
you heard of, because he was dealing with, he had some really bad anxiety. Like, I mean, you had anxiety so bad that you'd have to like get out in your car and drive. Remember in that?
Oh, yeah.
There was an electrical thing. It's kind of a long story. We won't
yeah.
get into the whole thing. But he was using vibrations, right, and hums to activate
Humming is another way.
the vagus nerve.
Well,
yeah.
it's a.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it helped them
again,
tremendously.
the ancient yogis called Om.
AUM.
It's not. That's a
AUM
Tibetan
or OM?
thing. Om is a Western and a Tibetan thing. The ancient yogis said Om. It's the
AUM.
Aum.
Yeah.
And it's the three sounds that
Heard
the
that.
human mouth can make without using the tongue.
Okay.
And it's also the three sounds of the universe,
Okay.
main sounds
I
of
got
the
no problem with
universe.
that. I have no problem with that. Om and Om. There was a guy named Herbert Benson.
But it creates a vibration around your whole.
You can do it right now. If you just went Om really loud, your whole head would start to vibrate and you would start to relax. There's a book called The Humming Effect by Joseph Goldman, and you can get it's a little paperback, and he talks about using humming to get those to access the vagus
I
nerve.
do that for my heart.
Humming is great for the heart. The
Yeah,
heart
just,
says,
just focusing and center that. I mean,
It's awesome.
They have machines that will do that, but you can do it
yourself.
many,
Super.
many times more yourself
Super.
just by focusing that
That's awesome.
vibration.
You're going to add years to your life, man. You're
Yeah.
going to add years to life. There's a guy named Herbert Benson who was a Harvard doctor who wrote a book called The Relaxation Response. And it came out in the 60s, and he talked about lowering blood pressure and all the markers of lowering cortisol that we talk about. But he said you had to chant, and he couldn't say Om because he's from Harvard. So he had to say you chant one.
One.
You just say one, 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 and it was a best-selling book. And,
Was it
Well,
because he couldn't
Om
get
is
like
a-
into like a religious thing?
Yeah, it's a religious thing,
So he couldn't say it
from
So
Harvard.
he had to say
So he had
one.
to say
okay.
one.
Okay.
One.
One.
Yeah, but it's a cool book. He has like 3 or 4 of them, but the main book was The Relaxation Response. So lowering cortisol. There's a really cool supplement, we don't sell it, but called pregnenolone. Have you heard of this? Pregnenolone.
It's a hormone, isn't
It's a precursor to a
yeah,
hormone.
precursor.
It's technically a hormone. Great relaxation substance.
Pregnenolone.
One of the all-time great anti-cortisol substances that's also very pro or anti-aging. It will add years to your life, and we make it naturally, but its production is reduced over time as we get older. It's called melatonin. And that will also support adrenal health and activate the relaxation response. So anything you could do to activate the relaxation response, then the thyroid will resolve itself. If you address those 3 points, there's not a single health challenge that will not improve. And if you don't have a health challenge, you'll feel better. You'll feel stronger. You'll add years to your life. So I've went way longer than I want to talk, but I want to come up with individual health challenges so we can walk you through it. I'd love to pick on Anton here if that's okay. I don't want to pick. Okay. So Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is the direct cause of Parkinson's. It's deterioration of the part of the brain that makes our body's motivating chemical.
So the Niagara
Substantia nigra,
Right.
correct? So I'll talk about that in a second because that's a very interesting part of the brain. Substantia nigra, who knows what that means? Think about it. No, yes you do. Break it down.
Dark.
Substantia, what does that mean? What do you think of? Dark. Exactly, black actually. A black substance.
I've seen the CT scan.
Okay, then you know. Okay, good. So the substantia nigra contains cells that make the body's motivation chemical. What's the body's motivation chemical that gets us to go do things?
Dopamine.
Dopamine. Exactly. When you reach for the doorknob, your body spikes dopamine. When you take a step, walking, as you know, is a very complicated process, walking. Okay? To walk, there's like all of these different things that have to go right. So in order for you to be able to take a step, dopamine has to go up to encourage you to take a step. So all of our movements are regulated by dopamine. And then when you succeed, at the door, you get a hit of pleasure hormones. Just opening the door will give you pleasure hormones. Endorphins, exactly. There's a major connection between motivation, anticipation of reward, and reward. We anticipate, from a neurological perspective, we anticipate a reward when we reach for the doorknob. We anticipate a reward when we take a step. There's going to be a reward here. Boom, there's a reward. If you have an issue with dopamine, if you have an issue with making dopamine, producing dopamine, you're not going to be able to be, there's going to be an issue completing actions. And that's what Parkinson's is. You can't complete actions. Your neurological system isn't allowing you to take steps correctly. Your neurological system
Synapses in the brain?
No, it's a deterioration of the brain. And I'll tell you what it is in a second. I just want you to see the mechanism of it. For those of us who don't have Parkinson's, we still want to get our dopamine up. Dopamine is secreted by doing behaviors that where you'll get a reward. One of the best ways to get your dopamine up is to wash the dishes. Washing the dishes will give you that feeling when you're done with the dishes. Do you ever look at the dishes and you're like, holy shit, how am I going to ever clean that? No, you know, I had a party, or you had Thanksgiving dinner, and they're like up to here, and you look at it and you like have no idea. So if you push yourself, dopamine will get you to do it. If you push yourself to do it, and then you do the dishes, and I have a technique for doing dishes, and it's really an amazing technique. It's called one fork at a time. And that's how you do the dishes. That's how you do any project, is one fork at a time. You take one fork, and you wash that. You don't even look at the pile. One fork, and you put that away. And then the other fork, and then the plate, and then the cup. Eventually, the dishes are all gone, and guess what? You feel so freaking good. You know what I'm talking about? You clean the garage, it's been sitting there for months and you haven't cleaned it, or you finish that paper that you didn't want, that you were supposed to finish and you didn't finish, or you do whatever that project was and you finally, don't you feel awesome? That's the reward that you get from the dopamine. So dopamine is your reward, is your anticipation molecule, and then you get a reward at the end of it. So the substantia nigra is the part of the brain that makes the dopamine. As we get older, our body starts to deteriorate. The end result of digestive breakdown, that is accumulation toxicity in the blood and a lack of nutrients being processed correctly. Blood sugar changes, elevated blood sugar, or the blood sugar high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster, and elevated cortisol. The end result is deterioration of the body. If the deterioration of the body occurs in the joints, you'll call it arthritis. If it occurs in the eyes, you'll call it macular degeneration. If it occurs in the kidneys, you'll call it kidney disease. If it occurs in the liver, you'll call it liver disease. If it occurs in the skin, you'll call it ulcers or poor wound healing or eczema or psoriasis. If it occurs in the back of your brain, or in the front of your brain, I should say, you'll call it Alzheimer's. If it occurs a little bit to the back of the brain, you'll call it Parkinson's. And by the way, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's go hand in hand because they're only an inch apart in the brain. There's even something called Parkinson's dementia. Have you ever heard of Parkinson's dementia? Which is the same thing as Alzheimer's because it's the same part of the brain. The point is, you have arthritis of the substantia nigra. You have fatty liver disease of the substantia nigra. You have osteoporosis of the substantia nigra. It's the same health issue. You don't want to focus on this part of the brain. You want to focus on the body breaking down as a whole. And this is the paradigm shift that we have to take if we're going to address disease. We have to stop addressing it as a diagnosis that we're treating. We have to address it as a biochemical phenomena that is generic. Do you guys get this? This is the most powerful paradigm shift that we can make, is we have to start looking at our long-term chronic degenerative diseases as generic phenomena, not as diagnoses. The only reason the diagnosis is there is for convenience and not for your convenience. The convenience of the medical model, so they can sell you the right drugs and they can give you the right protocol. The reason why our medical model fails is because it's trying to treat a diagnosis. It's not trying to treat a condition, a biochemical process. Biochemical processes in the body go like this. Biochemistry is all based on something called the pathways. The pathways are how things get turned. You know, chemistry has this kind of overwhelming sound to it. It sounds like really scary, and when I tell people I'm a chemist, they freak out. Oh my God, you're a chemist. It's not that hard. Chemistry is just Tinker Toys. And it's Tinker Toys changing shapes. You guys play with Tinker Toys, right? Or Legos. They all have a different shape. In the body is constantly changing, turning Tinker Toy A into Tinker Toy B, into Tinker Toy C, into Tinker Toy D, into Tinker Toy E, on and on, zillions, quadrillions, and gazillions, and whatever number of times you can come up with a second. That's what the body is. That's called the pathways. The movement from A to B to C to D is in the pathways. But here's the good news, folks. A is in one Tinker Toy shape. It gets turned into B, it gets turned into C, and on and on and on. But here's the good news. All chemistry is reversible. All chemical reactions go in one direction or another. They're always happening in both directions, it's just that one predominates. If you're breaking down, you're going this way faster than you're going this way. If you want to build up, you want to go this way faster than you're going this way. The point is this phenomenon can occur in the bones and you'll call it osteoporosis. It can occur in the joints and you'll call it arthritis. It can occur in the skin and you'll call it eczema. It can occur in the kidneys and you'll call it kidney disease. It can occur anywhere in the body and you'll call it anywhere in the body disease. It occurs in the front of your brain, you call it Alzheimer's. It occurs in the side of your brain, you call it Parkinson's. It occurs in the back of the brain, you call it seizure disorders. It doesn't matter where it is. This is what you want to be addressing. Okay? Are you with me? This is so powerful, especially for you, because you're young. Okay? You're a kid. So you can turn this thing around. You could begin to turn this thing around today. So, first of all, I told you about the triangle, and we talked about the 3 points of the triangle. And when you're healing somebody, you want to address all these points in this order, because this is the order they developed in. However, this is the most immediate cause of your health challenge. They all branch off from this third point in the triangle of disease. So if you want really quick results, instantaneous results, not long-term results, but instantaneous results, work here first. So when you start to feel yourself shaking, or if somebody has irritable bowel syndrome, or somebody has arthritis, or somebody has fibromyalgia, whatever their health challenge is, immediately work at the cortisol level, first thing. So when you find yourself shaking, first of all, or other times when you flare up, when it gets worse than others, notice what's happening when it flares up. I'm guaranteeing you with 100%, that when you flare up, right before you flare up, you're contracting. Your cortisol is spiking. Your breath is stopping. You're breathing much more shallow. So as soon as you feel that start to shake, stop whatever you're doing. Sit down and relax and slow deep breathe. My all-time favorite way to lower cortisol, reduce it quickly, and you can do this too. Best way, sit in a warm bath. Do you ever take a bath? Sit in a hot tub? No, okay. Next time you sit in a bath and hot tub, see if you're shaking. You ain't gonna be shaking. Because in order for the shaking to happen is you gotta be spiking cortisol and you gotta be contracting. And I always tease people, I always say, this is a joke, I'll say it again. If you've heard it before, just laugh and humor me a little bit. If we really cared about health in this country, we wouldn't have national health insurance, we would have national hot tub insurance, where everybody gets a hot tub in their backyard, because that's the best way to lower your cortisol and activate the vagus nerve. Sit in a warm bath. What does a warm bath tell the body somatically, by the way?
It's safe.
So you're safe. When was the last time the body, from a somatic perspective, aside from a bath, when was the most powerful, safe time we've ever experienced?
In the womb.
bath tells you you're in the womb. It tells you you're perfectly safe. We want, everything we're doing in life is to get back in the womb. We're like obsessed with the womb. We have a culture that's obsessed with getting, right guys? Yeah, we won't do anything to get back in the womb. Stick our whole head in there if we have to. You know, we want the womb. We're trying to get into the womb. So you can't get back in the womb, I'm sorry to say, but you can take a warm bath. You can sit in a hot tub. You can even take a warm shower. You can even splash warm water in your face, and that will do it. And you know what else will do? This is really interesting. If you really get into a pinch, I saw this on, I like watching these crime shows. You know, these, like, what do they call it, Discovery ID, these little weird crime shows, kind of twisted that way. And I remember seeing some guy, and he's got busted for like murder. He did some horrible murder. And they showed him, if you ever get interviewed in a cop room, know that they got cameras on you, even when they're gone, just as a word to the wise. They always put cameras on you. So the cops left the room, and they got this guy who's caught dead to rights doing murder, committing a murder, and they showed the camera, and they showed this guy on the floor in a fetal position. If you ever get into a pinch, you will automatically go into a fetal position, because that's as close as you can get to the womb if you don't have access to a hot tub. So even something like that. Figure out how to activate the body's relaxation nervous system, is what I'm saying. The breathing is the best. A warm bath works, warm shower, all of these techniques for activating.
Wim Hof.
What's that?
Wim Hof.
Well, Wim Hof is doing a little differently. Wim Hof is actually activating you. I'm talking about relaxing you.
Right.
It's a little bit opposite, but he's still leveraging the breath. Wim Hof is great. I love Wim Hof. And he has some great strategies for being able to like endure and get through things, and that's great. But what I'm talking about is the opposite, and I'm talking about relaxation. So you're working on the third point, and that's where you get your instantaneous results, always by working on the third point. And the breathing is the best way to do it, or the warm water also. But then you start working backwards. And you're going to want to work on the blood sugar system, and you're absolutely 100% dysglycemic. And when you go low blood sugar, your cortisol is going to go up. So going ketogenic as best as possible, use nutrients to help your body process sugar, do anything you can do for sugar. If I were you, I would be taking my blood sugar. Get a blood sugar monitor and take your blood sugar regularly. You might be very surprised at what you find out, and notice what lowers your blood sugar. And try and stay in a sweet spot. You don't want it too low, you don't want to be hypoglycemic, but you want a sweet spot. And then third of all, work on digestive health. There is and I've been saying this for years, so it's no surprise to me, but it's going to be a surprise to people who thought I was crazy. There's now a huge body of evidence that links dysbiosis to Parkinson's. And this is why. Okay? And like I say, it's not a surprise to anybody who understands this model, but if you're in the mainstream medical world, you're like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. I had no idea. Just Google dysbiosis and Parkinson's. Google intestinal health and Parkinson's. Google dysbiosis and movement disorders. It's a huge body of evidence at this point. So all the things for the digestive system.
Even my neurologist, he put me on the Cinemet, and he didn't tell me that you can't uptake Cinemet without the presence of tyrosine. Why would he do that?
Okay, well, there you go. I didn't, because they treat you with drugs. The drug companies treat you with
Yeah, I'm
drugs.
still on the minimum dose.
Well, you don't want to progress. You still look great. You're not
And I've done a couple of stem cell treatments, IV,
See, but what you haven't corrected the problem.
and exosomes, and
Well, you haven't corrected the problem.
right.
You're still deteriorating. So they'll give you the stem cells, and they'll work temporarily if they work, and you still haven't corrected the problem. You still have your dysbiosis.
Right.
You still have the problem of leaky gut. You still have the problems in the intestine. You still got the dysglycemia, and you still got the adrenal and cortisol issues. So you haven't addressed the problem. I'm all for stem cells because they can help you symptomatically. Stem cells are great. By the way, do you guys know what a stem cell is? It's really pretty incredible. A stem cell is a cell that can become anything. And they're all over your body, and they can actually take one out of your skin. Usually they take it out of your skin,
Yeah,
skin
so
cells,
bone marrow.
or they take out a fat, that's right, or bone marrow. And so they take out, and this cell can be anything. It could be a heart cell, they put it in your heart. It can be a brain cell, they put it in your brain. It could be a joint cell. That's a miracle, right? I call this the wisdom of a stem cell. And so this is really interesting, and it's only applicable to men, but since we have some ladies in here, I'll tell you anyway. The wisdom of a stem cell. See, a stem cell is the coolest cell there is. And cells, I didn't get to talk to you about cells, but cells are really, really amazing critters. But a stem cell is super amazing because a stem cell never dies. It lives forever. And not only does it live forever, it's pluripotent, which means it could be anything it wants to be. It could be a heart cell, it could be a brain cell, it could be a skin cell, it could be a bone cell, it could be a liver cell. What's that?
Cartilage, ligaments,
You name it. It's a miracle. It lives forever, and can be anything it needs to be. That's amazing, right? Until it does one thing. You know what it is? What is it that makes a stem cell all of a sudden turn mortal, like a regular cell, and become limited, like a regular cell? Once it's a skin cell or a bone cell or a brain cell, that's what it is. It goes from being pluripotent, it could be anything it wants, to being just one thing, and it goes from being immortal to being mortal, to being limited. You know what that one thing is?
Oxygen?
Nope. A stem cell loses its magic, it loses its mojo when it commits. So the next time your girlfriends or your wives ask you why you won't commit, you just tell them the wisdom of a stem cell. I knew you wouldn't like that. Isn't that great? When I read that, I was like, wait a minute, that's like me. It's like, no wonder why I don't want to commit. You know, the wisdom of a stem cell, because it knows you're going to die. As soon as you commit, I'm going to die. I don't want to commit. That's why we have fear of commitment. It's a healthy thing. So anyway, that's the wisdom of a stem cell. You just brought that up, so I thought I'd tell you.
Exosomes are new and
Exosomes are cells that come from outside the body that they implant in the body.
they're what stem cells break down. They break off. They're like if that book is an exosome, this room is a stem cell.
So it's a component of the stem cell.
And they have all the cytokines and leukocytes and.
It's a part of the stem cell.
Yep.
I'll have to look that up.
And they'll penetrate the blood-brain barrier.
So it's a key. It's an element in the stem cell.
Yep.
All right. You taught me something new. I
They
didn't know that.
give them off.
All right. So the bottom line point. Thank you for that. I didn't know that. The bottom line is that nobody has to be condemned. Nobody. Everything is reversible by biochemical nature, by law, but you have to access it at the fundamental levels. If you have a health challenge and you don't treat it here, you will fail. If you have a health challenge and you treat it here, you will always succeed, and the success you will have will be to the extent that you participate in the triangle of disease. Did you have a question? No. Okay. So does anybody else have a health challenge that you want to name?
On the stem cell, I was talking to the doctor about that, and he says stem cells are useless unless you nutrify them.
Exactly, that's what I was telling you. You put a stem cell in and you haven't changed the problem, you might get some quick benefit, but yes, if you still have the dysglycemia, the malnutrition, everything. You've got to work on the digestion, you've got to work on all of this. This is primal. And you know why nobody's going to tell you this? Let me tell you why nobody's going to tell you this. And I wasn't going to tell you about the cell, but I'm going to tell you this real quick. What time is it, you guys?
1 o'clock.
Okay, so I'm just going to wind it down for this here. Okay? So the body is made up of these things called cells. We've all heard that, right? The cells make stuff. The stuff is the rest of our body, and the cells are the little factories that make our bodies. Do you ever play with those Play-Doh machines where you put the Play-Doh in and you press it down and squeeze it out? Think of a cell that way. A cell's job is to make things. It secretes stuff and it secretes the body. If you're sick, when we're sick, this is where we're sick. All disease is cell disease. The stuff is not the disease, it's the end result. All disease is a function of a broken down cell. So then the question becomes how do I address the cell? This is how you address the cell. Hello, cell. No, I'm just kidding. That's from the honeymooners.
Hello, sir.
Did you ever see that on the honeymooners? He was golf. Do you know the honeymooners? You youngins don't even know that. Oh my God! Do you not know the honeymooners?
To the moon, Alice.
Okay, to the moon, right? I'm old. I know. But you can still get it on Nick at Night. It's hysterically funny. So anyway, Ralph goes up. Ralph and Norton are learning how to golf, and so Ralph says, "Address the ball," and Norton goes, "Hello, ball." Just like that. So anyway, I just stole that joke. So anyway, you have to address the cell. The cell, the beautiful thing is the cell doesn't need a lot because the cell has been on planet Earth for 3.5 billion years. And in that 3.5 billion years, it has perfected itself. So it only needs 3 things. It needs food, it needs oxygen, and it needs a clean environment, a clean place to do its work. That's all it needs. So if you're sick, all you got to do is feed the cell. We call the food of a cell the mighty 90 essential nutrients. That's what the mighty 90 essential nutrients. They're what a cell eats. Breathe the cell. Make sure the cell has oxygen, and make sure you don't have toxicity around the cell. That's all you need to do. And that means if we're sick, there are three things that are not happening. We're either not feeding the cell, we're not breathing the cell, or we've got a toxic environment around the cell. Now, what ends up happening is all of this, when you have a lack of food, or you have a lack of oxygen, or you have a lack of cleanliness, what ends up happening is, this is really interesting and very cool, I guarantee you it's the last thing I'm going to say. When the cell breaks down, it dies. First it breaks down slowly, but ultimately it dies. When cells die, they leak out their contents. When they leak out their contents, the body has to protect itself from those leaked contents, and it will build a wall around that cell.
Tumor.
Not a tumor yet. Okay? It'll just build. You won't even know this is happening. It's only one cell. A cell is maybe 1/100th the size of a head of a pin. It will build. This is the microinflammation. The microinflammation is protecting the cell from the toxicity, which is coming in from the digestive system, from the lack of nutrition, or the lack of oxygen that's causing the cell death. And this is what ends up happening, multiplied by millions of times when we're sick. The point being that if you're not addressing the cell by feeding the cell and breathing the cell and cleaning the cell, you're not going to get better. The reason we don't get told this by the pharmacomedical model is because
There's no money in a healthy America.
well, it's close, on the right track. See, the cell doesn't take drugs. The cell doesn't want drugs. The only thing drugs can do is kill the cell or block the cell from doing something. That's all doctors can do. They can poison the cell with drugs. They can remove the cell with surgery. They can electrocute the cell with an ablation, or they can irradiate the cell with X-ray. There's nothing in the doctor's magical bag of tricks that can do anything for the cell. And that's why we never hear about the cell. That's why the medical model never talks about the cell. It's because they can't do anything about the cell, because only God can do anything about the cell through food, oxygen, and a clean place to do its work. And that's all you need to do.
Those Fuchs cells are
What's
called
that?
cancer?
Now, cancer is a little bit different. Cancer is fascinating. All right, so cancer is the end result of a cell that is freaked the F out. It doesn't know what else to do. So there's two kinds of cells. There's old cells and new cells. The old cells are called pro. I'm not going to, second part is karyote, but you don't have to worry about that. Karyote means cell. Pro means early. And then the other cells are called eukaryotes. Have you heard this term? Eukaryote?
It's a cell that didn't know it's supposed to die.
In a way, but check this out. Most of our cells are these eukaryotes. They got a nucleus, they got lots of parts in them, they're very advanced cells. Prokaryotes are bacterial cells. They're not advanced cells. A prokaryote cell is a cell that can divide, but it can't become anything. So bacteria can never become an organ. Bacteria just makes more bacteria. A liver cell can become a liver. A heart cell can become a heart. A brain cell can become a brain. A eukaryote is an animal and a plant cell. A prokaryote is a bacterial cell and a fungal cell. And these are very primitive cells. These are very advanced cells. These cells divide really rapidly. These cells divide in a very controlled fashion. These cells are extremely functional. These cells can only survive. They can't really become anything. So these are advanced cells, these are primitive cells. The cells in our body are obviously prokaryotes, with the exception, of course, of our microbiome and our mycobiome, which is the bacteria, the fungus that live inside of us. Most of the cells, the vast majority of cells are obviously, well, I shouldn't say that, because most of the cells are actually prokaryotes. But the functional cells are eukaryotes. They're good cells, heart cells, liver cells, etc. But remember, a cell needs food. A cell needs oxygen. And a cell needs a clean place to do its work, right? It needs three things. That's all it needs. That's all it needs. Take that to the bank. That's all a cell needs. Food, oxygen, and a clean place to do its work. But if a cell is not getting food because you've had gut problems your entire life and you're not absorbing nutrients, or you have elevated blood sugar and you're burning through your nutrients, or you're not breathing correctly, or you don't have enough cortisol, or you have a lot of microinflammation that's blocking the flow of oxygen, or your blood is sticky and clogged and it's not delivering food or delivering oxygen, and your environment is toxic because you've been eating the wrong foods and you're not moving your body, you're not having bowel movements, eventually this cell is going to die. However, every once in a while, very rarely really, instead of dying, this cell will go from being a eukaryote to a prokaryote. It will go backwards in time. And instead of becoming a liver, instead of if it's a hepatocyte, a liver cell, instead of becoming a liver, it will now say, screw you, I'm just dividing on my own. I've been starved, I've been suffocated, I've been swimming in this crap for so long. You think I'm going to be a liver for you? Forget that. I'm just going to go ahead and divide and divide and divide. And that's what a cancer cell is. A cancer cell is a cell that is at its wit's end. It doesn't know what else to do. And instead of dying, which is what's supposed to happen, or being cleaned out, what happens is it converts into a prokaryote. A cancer cell is a prokaryotic cell that has the qualities of a prokaryote. It doesn't have a lot of functional work. It's not exactly a prokaryote, but it's tending towards that. It doesn't have a lot of functionality inside it. It divides very rapidly. It doesn't become an organ. It just proliferates. Its job is to proliferate, and that's what causes cancer. The bottom line is, cancer is not caused by something in the food or something in the water. It's not caused by something in the air. It's not caused by all these things. Oh, this causes, you've heard all this. Oh, I'm not going to eat that. That causes cancer. Or, oh, no, I heard that that causes cancer. People say, oh, plastic causes cancer and carbon monoxide. They don't cause cancer. Nothing causes cancer.
So mutation is a survival technique.
It's a survival technique. That's exactly what it is. Now, there's a little exception. You can shoot radiation at a cell and you can make it go cancer. So what they call ionizing radiation can do it. But you hit the nail on the head. It's a cell that is just so freaked out. It's like a baby. It doesn't know what to do. So what do we do with our arrogant medical model? We kill it. We zap it. We radiate it. We punish it. All it wants to do is survive. It's not its fault. It's just trying to survive as best as it can. And that's how we look at disease. We look at it eradicating. And so every time they say, well, we're going to have a cure for cancer, I say, you idiots. You can't cure this. This is not curable. This is an end result. It's a survival technique. You're going to cure a survival strategy? Anybody who tells you they don't understand cancer, they don't know what causes cancer, doesn't understand this mechanism. If you understood what I just told you, you know more than your oncologist. Did I say anything not logical, you guys? This is not complicated. It's simple. And as a healthcare professional, as a guy who sees the suffering, I mean, you all see the suffering because you're your friends and your family, but I see it so much. The letters I get, the people I talk to, it is so tragic and it is so heartbreaking. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm so honored and thrilled that you're going to do that too, because I can't do it by myself. If you want to take it on as your mission to make a difference at this level, not even by giving them Beyond Tangerine or healthy products, but by just telling them, giving them hope, giving them this idea that everything's reversible, that there's a reason why you have cancer, that there's a reason why you have a degenerative disease, that there's nothing the medical model can do, but your lifestyle can do so many things. Whether you use the BTT or not, I mean, you're crazy if you don't use it, but if you don't, slow deep breathing, ketogenic diet, stabilize your blood sugar, drink more water, take regular baths, activate the vagus nerve. I mean, there's a million different things we could be doing to access our health. And if you get on the Beyond Tangerine, the Healthy Start Pack, the beautiful thing about our system is it's easy. It's so simple. You get it every month. It costs you $120, $130. You got your loaded up every month. You got ancillary products. You've got go-to people like Dr. Taylor and myself and Dr. Wallach and other healthcare professionals, Dr. Glidden and other healthcare professionals that are dedicated to this. And probably most important of all is that we're all kind of alike in the sense that we're all that little segment of people in the population that wants to help. You know, can you feel that? There's a certain amount of people, I heard somebody once call them white blood cells. There's white blood cells in the circulatory system of society that is there to make a difference, that is there to help heal disease, that is there to protect. Doesn't that sound good? Mm-hmm. I mean, don't take for granted that it sounds good to you, because it doesn't sound good to everybody. You know, we sometimes forget because it's like a natural. We would be helping people, you guys are all helping people no matter what, right? It's just a natural urge to do. Not everybody has that, but in longevity, almost all of us have that. In fact, I would say all of us who are in the business have that, and that's why we're in the business. So not only will you be helping people and making a difference, and maybe even helping yourself and making a difference, but you'll be doing your life's work, really, which is what I think that's what we're all here for, really, but we know that we're here for that. And that is changing the planet, making the world a better place at the most fundamental level there is, which is the level of good health. And that's it. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I hope to see you again. Good?